Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Dan Patrick.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Dan Patrick.
He's the commissioner of the National Hockey League, Gary Bettman. What if a player tests positive in the middle of the playoffs? Then what?
The medical people are telling us one test would require that player to be isolated and you don't need an overreaction. If you have an outbreak, that's a completely different story. What constitutes an outbreak, what procedures we need to follow, that is something that the medical people are going to tell us. We'll be doing what medical people tell us is appropriate under the circumstances.
Bringing you the biggest guests and best interviews.
I give you credit. You know you're getting booed, but you still love taking that trophy out there.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
When do I get booed?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
This is Dan Patrick.
Welcome to the program. Made it to a Thursday. Hour one, Dan and the Danettes. Dan Patrick Show. Glad to have you on board. Glad to be part of your life in some way, shape, or form. You can watch the program if you like, youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show. And, of course, our great radio affiliates around the country, numbering 362 in the formidable Fox Sports Radio lineup. The great Jerry West, birthday boy, 82 years of age. Still looks great. Lakers Hall of Famer join us coming up a little bit later on. Albert Breer from the Monday Morning Quarterback will join us. We'll talk about the NFL tabling the Sky Judge. Man, I was excited just to hear Joe Buck saying, let's go to the Sky Judge. Have a business card that says, I'm sorry, what do you do for a living? Sky Judge. Albert Breer will join us. I think what they're going to do is the replay official is going to have his job expanded a little bit, and he will be the quote-unquote Sky Judge. But we'll talk about that. Also, Jadeveon Clowney is still out there on the outside looking in. The Browns gave him a big offer. Titans are also in play, and the Seattle Seahawks. So we'll talk to him about some of the movers and shakers here with the NFL. 877-3DP-SHOW, email address dp@danpatrick.com. Baseball players say no pay cuts. Max Scherzer came out and pretty demonstratively said, no, we're not going to do it here. Once again, it feels like the owners want to have this disruption with the players because you have the haves and the have-nots. And this is going to create an uncomfortable discourse for everybody in baseball. You know, the owners might just look at this and say, hey, we're not going to pay you all that money because we're not going to get our money back. Are we going to open the books here? This is about negotiations. And it seems fruitless to talk about it every single day, other than what I have said it feels like every day is everybody needs to shut up, keep things in-house, and try to figure it out. Because if you're going to do this where you're going to ask the paying audience, your fans, to say, hey, why don't you guys decide? They're probably not going to side with the players here. And that doesn't mean that the players are guilty. You know, I think that they're asking for something, and they want to know exactly what are the owners making here. Why don't you open your books? Why don't you let us see what you have, and then we'll understand what is at stake for you. We know what our salaries are. You print our salaries. They're public knowledge. But Max Scherzer is among 8 players on baseball's executive subcommittee, which means he's probably a mouthpiece for Scott Boras, his agent, and which I understand. Scott Boras is trying to get the most for his clients because his clients make the most money. But Scherzer said that after discussing the latest developments with the rest of the players, there's no need to engage with MLB in any further compensation reductions. We have previously negotiated a pay cut in the version of a prorated salary, no justification to accept a second pay cut based upon current information the union has received. All right, this doesn't matter to us on a day-to-day basis. Certainly doesn't matter to us right now. We don't care about this once the season starts. All you want to do is have baseball. Nobody's feeling bad for a billionaire, and you're probably not feeling bad for Max Scherzer or some of these other guys who make more than $20 million a year. But we can understand what they're giving up to come back, and the players are the ones taking the risk to come back, not these owners. So I see both sides, and I hate to go right down the middle on this, but I've been involved in these things, covering negotiations before. I've covered lockouts. I've covered strikes. I know how this works. You put out information you want put out, and you want it disseminated, and then you hopefully get public sentiment on your side. And that it feels like the owners, Major League Baseball, they've leaked every possible document possibly. That's every possible document, possibly. And now you have the players saying, well, wait a minute, now we got to strike back here. And, it's just uncomfortable. It's a bad look for baseball. You got the NBA trying to figure it out inside, in-house. NHL, inside, in-house. Major League Baseball, open the windows, open the doors. Everybody come on in. See what we got here. It's a bad look. And they got to get this under one roof here, figure it out, what makes the most sense, because we as fans don't want to hear anything about this. We don't. I couldn't care less. I want him to play baseball. Figure it out. If you don't make your money now, make it up later. If you're an owner, make it up later. If you're a player, make it up later. But we don't want to hear about it. Just play. Figure it out. Get back. There's other things to worry about. I did see this. There was a 67-page draft of Major League Baseball's proposed 2020 operational manual. That was sent to teams on Friday, and of course it was leaked. The guidelines, first reported by The Athletic, were subject to negotiations with the Players Association. So teams are going to have 50 players each under the plan, and the number of active for each game is still being negotiated. So you have a pool of 50 players. Spitting is prohibited, along with water jugs and the use of saunas, steam rooms, pools, cryotherapy chambers. Hitting indoor cages is discouraged. Batting gloves encouraged. Batting practice pitchers wear masks. Protocols including testing for team staff. Seating in the empty stands near the dugouts would be used to maintain distance, according to diagrams in the manual. The next day's starting pitcher can't sit in the dugout. Everybody must keep their distance during the Star-Spangled Banner and God Bless America. Fielders are encouraged to retreat several steps away from the base runner between pitches. First and third base coaches are not to approach base runners or umpires, and players should not socialize with opponents. I can't wait for that first argument at home plate where the manager is about 6 or 7 feet away from the umpire, and he's and then the umpire's pointing back at him, and you're going, I don't know what they're saying. They certainly look mad at each other. Managers and coaches have to wear a mask while in the dugouts. Entire traveling party, including players, must wear personal protective equipment while on buses and flights. Restaurants off limits on the road, including ones in hotels, as are hotel fitness centers. Get ready for some baseball. I have no idea what it's going to look like, but now I'm really interested to see. And then you got guys saying, hey, I'm going to spit. You can't stop me from spitting. Okay, there's far more important things to worry about than you not being able to spit.
Well,
who's the Colorado Rocky? Is that
Nolan Arenado?
No.
Oh, Charlie Blackmon.
Yeah, Charlie Blackmon. He says he's going to spit. Hey, Charlie, shut up. Just go ahead and spit. You don't have to tell us you're going to spit. Just worry about the other things. You don't get to spit. Oh, my God. Hey, I'm spitting. Okay, designated spitter. Just get baseball back. Spit on your uniform if you want. No, I mean, come on. Spit at home if you want to. We worry about the dumbest damn things here. Just come back and play baseball. That's it. You don't have to tell me that hey, I'm spitting. All right, you're probably adjusting your cup too. Good for you. What else are you doing? Come back and play baseball. That would be enough. Mclovin, you got a poll question for me?
Yeah, we got a few options. By the way, baseball players are gross and have always been gross. That sport has more disgusting things going on, but
yeah.
Okay. NBA question. There was a story yesterday that the NBA is going to work to let families come to Orlando for the bubble tournament or whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you're an NBA player, do you want your family there for, say, a 2-month season?
Well, you're going to get guys who have different reasons for that. But
I was going to go from the competitive standpoint,
okay.
so you can focus on the game.
I'm going to say no. There's just, the more you add, the more chances, and then let's reduce the number of chances of something that could go wrong. You got one shot here. Let's just make it work. And not everybody's going to be there 2 months. So if you have some of these marquee guys, if LeBron James wants to bring his immediate family there, he's probably going to be there for the long haul. Or if it's the Greek Freak, and I think he's got a newborn baby. You want to do that? Now, I would not want a newborn baby in that environment there. But, it's going to be up to the individuals. But no, I would not want my family there. Unless I thought I'm in there for the long haul of 2 months, that's one thing. But some of these guys are not going to be there more than a month. Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, and if I'm LeBron's family, I don't know if I want to. The presidential suite at the resort in Orlando, I'm sure, is fantastic. It might be 2,000 square feet, but I've seen LeBron's house on social media. It's like 18,000 square feet.
Yeah, Todd.
But even if the family's safety was guaranteed, which there's no way of doing that, but just hypothetically, some of the players may not want their family there anyway.
Yeah. You want to explain why?
Explaining why, because you just don't want to deal with the family for a couple of months. It's not so much a distraction or anything. I don't think it would be 100% because of worrying about the safety of the family. Sometimes there's extracurricular reasons why you might want a 2-month break from the family, and I'll just leave it there.
Yeah. All right. Did okay. Your family might want you to go to Orlando and not go with.
Sure.
Yeah, they'd be like,
can't
no,
they make it 4 months, 5 months?
You go by yourself, Todd.
Just
yes,
go, even
Mclovin.
if you're not playing, go.
Yeah,
I've heard it described that the entire resort areas are all going to be open to them. It does sound kind of like heaven, to bring your family down. I haven't been to Disney World with my kids, but I heard that it's pretty spectacular what they're being offered.
Yeah, if it's everybody is there and nobody, there's nobody from outside parties involved in it. But I just want to if I'm the NBA, I want to reduce the number of people that I need. That's it. You want to get the season done with. That's the most important part. Players get paid, owners make money, and you get a championship here. You don't need to appease everybody in this situation. And if you can ensure safety, great. I don't know if we can. But if we can, great. You can have everybody down there, but all it takes, you got one moment here, one team, one player, one star, and then it crumbles. Yeah, Paul.
Let's scale it down. You bring 7 players and 1 coach. Let's just have the bench nice and clean, space everybody out. You get 2 subs. Bring a guard, bring a big, and let's go.
This program brought to you by Traeger. Summer's here, which means it's the perfect time to take your grilling from league average to Hall of Fame worthy with the help of the Traeger grill. Taste the wood fire difference by contacting your local dealer, visiting TraegerGrills.com/DP show today. What other poll questions do you have, Mclovin?
Do you want to get into the Baker Mayfield topic yet, or save that one?
I'm going to save that.
Yeah. A lot of contract talk with Baker Mayfield. Okay, I have a question for you. If the Spurs, if they expand the playoff field to 12 teams in each conference, if they go, say, 24 deep like the NHL, do those 24 teams count as playoff teams?
Well, what they're going to do, this is the proposal, 20 teams, 8 in the East, 12 from the West, because the 12 has some competitive slots there where somebody might be able, Portland, New Orleans might be able to get into the 8th spot. So they want to be fair to them and the San Antonio Spurs.
So it would be a play-in to get into the field of 16? Is that how it works?
I believe so, but there's going to be 20, but it's not balanced from... It's not 10 and 10 from the East and West. It would be 8 because I think those spots are all secure in the East, whereas the West, there's still some opportunity there to move up and get into the postseason. So I guess, people are like, would this playoff streak for the San Antonio Spurs continue? Don't we have other things to worry about? Then that doesn't count. So we're going to put an asterisk by the San Antonio Spurs playoff streak. Is that what we're saying, Mclovin? Of all the things to worry about, we're going to, we didn't put an asterisk by winning a title in 1999 in a strike-shortened season, but we're going to put an asterisk by their playoff run.
Well, it'd be amazing if they had their playoff streak broken and won the NBA title.
Yeah.
They won the title, but they didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, I think this would be asterisk-worthy because in the normal format, they would have not made the playoffs. If the season ended, they're pretty far out of it. They're like 6 games out.
I don't care if they have an asterisk or not.
Is this expanded playoffs just to get 3 more games of Zion Williamson on national TV? Because that's what it feels like. Can we get 3 more games out of Zion on national TV?
Well, they want more than 3, but Who knows? You would like to have him in the mix. You certainly would. Yes, Mclovin.
I can't remember. Why are the Blazers not good this year? They were really good last year. I can't remember what the heck happened to them.
I don't think that they were healthy.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, I don't remember who was injured, who was hot. I don't remember anything. We used to talk about NBA all the time, and these teams are just going to pick up and be the same teams.
Well, you kind of forget who was good, and was somebody really good right before this happened? Utah, Bogdanovich is out with he had a wrist surgery. He's had an unbelievable year. He's already out for the year. He's not even coming back for the playoffs. So Utah, which I loved as a dark horse to start the year, and then all of a sudden it's like, and then I got the Rudy Gobert situation here. Do his teammates like him? How's that going to be when they all come back together? Who's going to want to hang out with Rudy Gobert when we all come back? Yes, Mclovin.
And you're pretty sure Durant won't come back. Is there anything, any updates? And Klay Thompson too.
I can't imagine it. Klay Thompson, I can't imagine him coming back. Durant, I guess there's the possibility, but if you can't guarantee that Kyrie's coming back, then I don't want Kevin Durant coming back. If we're making a run in the East, if I have Durant and Kyrie and they're healthy, okay. I at least understand it, but I just wouldn't want to push. He's had ample time, if you think about this. How many months that he's been out? What's it been, 12 months? Maybe longer than that? Or has it been quite 12 months? I'm trying to remember when Durant got hurt. So it was last June when he blew it out. They say 9 to 12, I believe, for an Achilles. But I got to look at this big picture here if I'm the Nets. And I just don't want to bring Durant back. I know they can tell me, hey, doctor's cleared, 100%. You're pushing him back. Yes, Seton.
Not to get too far down the line, but I wonder if players are wondering about next season. And there's no real guarantees for how that's going to play out either. We could be in a very similar situation next year at this time. So they, as a player, might be, they might want to get in some games and get in some time and play and compete. And, if they have a chance for a ring, actually be a part, a participant in that, rather than all of a sudden 2 seasons are gone and they're still waiting.
Well, I think that you're going to look at delayed start, and maybe it's backed up to Christmas with the NBA. But it also, now it hasn't come out publicly, but I'm waiting to hear the players and the owners talk about, well, if we don't start until December, what does that mean for salaries here? Just throwing it out there, because people say it's not about money, and it's always about money. We'll take a break. We'll talk to Albert Breer, the Monday morning quarterback. I was hoping for my sky judge. We're not getting a sky judge, but it feels like maybe we're just saying to the replay official, hey, we're going to give you more responsibility. Is that basically calling him the adjunct sky judge? And Jerry West, the Laker Hall of Famer, a little bit later on as well. 18 after the hour, just getting started on this Thursday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. You check things all the time. Your email, Instagram. What about checking something important as your credit? Discover makes it quick and easy. Best of all, it's free. Discover's now offering FICO credit scores, the score used by 90% of top lenders, and doing so for free. Even if you're not a customer, checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard is what it's called. It's free for everyone. You can learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. That's discover.com/credit scorecard, and limitations apply. How would you have done in your prime against a legitimate MMA guy? Let's say, somebody who was at the top of their game, MMA. And
all right, hey, let's say let's say we're only boxing like Floyd doing.
Yeah.
We're only boxing. He can't kick me and stuff.
No.
He's gonna get knocked out.
What if it's MMA rules?
If it's MMA, I'm gonna be in a lot of trouble because if he step on my toes. No, listen, man. If he step on my toes, man, I'm gonna tap out. He don't have to hit me. Just if he step on my toes, I'm gonna tap right out.
Wait. Why your toes?
Oh, my toes are destructive. They look like they blew up in the toes. My toes look like they blew up. And if he stepped on my toes, oh man, I might die.
What hurts on you right now?
One matter of fact, I just had a surgery. It was a 4-hour surgery. It was on my spine.
Oh, my God.
It was a lower 4 and 5 disc, and it's a week ago today.
And this is just to have a productive life. It's nothing more than
for a productive life, because there was a cyst on that they didn't see on MIR. It was a cyst there, so they had to remove the cyst. And I was very fortunate that because soon I was going to be in a wheelchair.
Could you go one round right now with somebody?
Yes. But not right now because of my back.
Okay.
Well, I think I can go right now with my back. My spinal thing, I can go one round.
Who would you want a piece of right now?
Hey, I don't want to fight nobody. That's the main thing. Fighting's out of my mind, out of my life.
How does it get out of
talk about fighting?
But how does it get out of you? Like it feels like it's just in you. It's part of you. How did you get rid of it?
It became, when you become a megalomaniac and you get nothing but trouble, and it gets you in the, it just puts you on the dark side of life, and you just you got to escape that. You kind of understand what I'm saying, Dan?
Well, yeah, because I was around that back then, and I remember, how boxing was, and I don't know how you survived. I really don't. I don't know.
Yeah, listen, Dan, neither do I. I don't know how this happened. And I don't know how I got a podcast. How did this happen? How did I get a cartoon show? And listen, Dan, listen to this, Dan. This is going to really make you go, whoa.
Okay.
At the top of my career, at the top of my game, when I was Mike Tyson, knocking out Michael Spinks, when I was the top man in the world, cartoons stayed away from me like a man with a 1,000-foot pole. Now I got a cartoon. Can you believe that? At this time of my life, a cartoon, and it's good.
But I think the Hangover changed an awful lot, Mike.
Oh, the Hangover was that was the deal changer.
Because people looked at you and said you had a sense of humor, like there was just charm, a softer side to you. How did you have to take some time before you took that role when they said, "Hey, we got an idea"?
No, they threw me in a goddamn picture. They threw me in there.
Question as well. Phone calls are welcome, 877-3DP Show. Email address, dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle, DP Show. And a shout out to Chat Row. We bring in Albert Breer, senior NFL reporter, the Monday morning quarterback, who joins us. And by the looks of your room there, you love yourself some Ohio State Buckeyes there. It's just by accident that Paulie wore his Michigan T-shirt today.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that. Are you a Michigan guy, Paulie?
I couldn't have gotten into Michigan if you doubled my GPA. No, I went to Southern Illinois.
I got an even better story. I come from a long line of Michigan people, and I couldn't get in, so I went to the rival.
Yeah, but where did you grow up? Are you from Michigan?
No, I'm from Massachusetts. My dad's from Detroit, though, and so my dad's side of the family is almost entirely from Michigan. Everybody went to Michigan or Michigan State, and yeah, I was the black sheep. I went to the other Big Ten school.
Yeah, but people call this a rivalry, and I'm from Ohio, and I say it's not a rivalry because Michigan's not on the same level as Ohio State. What do you think of that?
It's not. It's to me, over the last 17, 18 years, it's like when I was in school there, Dan, it was the tail end of the Lloyd Carr, John Cooper thing, and it's amazing what's happened. And I think honestly, I think because it matters more to people in Ohio, that's why things have gone the way they've gone. But from what Tressel's done, the fact that they've been more dominant since after Tressel left is unbelievable.
Yeah, but why does it matter more to Ohio State fans than it does Michigan fans?
I don't know. You're probably as good to answer that as I am, right? Because you're from there. I don't know. I think it's just more – I just think it's more ingrained in the culture in Ohio. And I think the other thing is, when I went to school at Ohio State, I don't know if it's still the same way there, but I think 95% of the people that I went to school with were from Ohio.
Yeah.
And Michigan, a lot of the people didn't grow up with it. A lot of the people that go to Michigan are from New York or from California. And so I think it's a little less ingrained in the people who went to Michigan than it is the people who went to Ohio State.
Yeah, but I think when you're with everybody loves a winner, therefore it's more important to Ohio fans because they're on the winning side of this, whereas Michigan fans not as excited, sort of downplaying this, and maybe that's why it means more. I don't know.
I don't know, though, because, Dan, they ran off John Cooper because he couldn't beat Michigan. Like, John Cooper was fine otherwise, and they ran him off simply because he couldn't beat Michigan. So,
but everything's good now, Albert.
I don't think anybody in Ohio was downplaying the rivalry when it wasn't going well for them.
Well, the fact that it is going well, that they're fine with their coach because whoever their coach is, because they know that Michigan's coach is Jim Harbaugh, and they always feel like they have the upper hand there. Do you see a scenario where Harbaugh eventually leaves Michigan for another coaching job?
I think he certainly wants to take another crack at the NFL. I do think that he has some unfinished business there. I honestly think it sort of bothered him. The way that he, like his brother got to the mountaintop against him. And, I've always felt like there was that little piece of unfinished business. So I don't know how long he's going to stay at Michigan. I know a lot of people felt like, he'd probably be at Michigan for 4 or 5 years, then go back because he's been sort of a short-termer at the other places he's been. So he's already sort of lasted longer than some people thought he'd last at Michigan. I think he'll eventually be back in the NFL. I'm just not sure when.
Do you think Ohio State fans want Jim Harbaugh to stay as head coach at Michigan?
Right now I'd say yes. Ryan Day's out recruiting him. He's out coaching him. He's beating him on the field. I like the fact that not just Urban Meyer beat Jim Harbaugh this way, the fact that Ryan Day's beating him this way too and has all the momentum. I know this. There's just seems to be a lot of unlocked potential left in that Michigan program, and it's super interesting to me the idea that that another coach could come in here and after the Urban Harbaugh thing, take Ohio State to another level, and now Jim Harbaugh's got to catch up to him. It'll be interesting to see where it goes.
All right, Albert Breer joining us, senior NFL reporter, MMQB. Now let's talk about your day job here. I was all excited about Sky Judge. I really was. And now it's being tabled. Why is it being tabled? And is the replay official getting some more responsibilities?
Well, it's not really being, it's being tabled, but it's being tabled in the way that it was written by the coaches subcommittee. And in particular, the Ravens coach, John Harbaugh, and the Chargers coach, Anthony Lynn. And the difference between what they wanted to do and what's going to be going in an experimental basis is really about who the Sky Judge himself is. And the coaches really wanted it to be a more experienced guy. So either a retired head referee or a more experienced member of the crew, with younger guys becoming the 8th member of the crew. They really wanted an experienced hand up there, somebody that everybody could trust, being in charge of monitoring the broadcast and being in charge of having that view up top. And really the league wasn't ready to take that step. And so Walt Anderson, who's become very involved over the last 4 or 5 months. He was an on-field official until the end of the season. He's moved into a senior role in the NFL office now. He sort of suggested, hey, listen, the replay officials we have are good. We'll change out a few of them, and we'll get some good guys in here. And then let's give this a shot in the preseason. And if it works in the preseason, let's try it in the regular season. And if it works in the regular season, we can expand on it in 2021. And so there's been a 2-year process for guys like John Harbaugh and Andy Reid and Anthony Lynn. And all these guys really just want to give the officials a resource. And the idea was to give them a high-end resource by giving them an experienced official up top. This is sort of the compromise where the replay official, the existing replay official, will have expanded duties.
I don't know if you saw the comments Dean Blandino made on the show a couple of days ago, where he said when he was in charge of the officials, there was a break glass in case of emergency where New York would contact the official on the field and say, guys, huddle up. Because as Dean said, we were worried about something extreme, historically bad or controversial here. We contacted the NFL. The NFL said, we have no comment. And then I talked to a source who said, that's the way Dean did things, not the way we do things now. What do you make of that?
Well, Dean was very close with a lot of the coaches, and he had that trust with the coaches, Dan. And that's one thing that came up. I think that's been lost the last couple of years, was a lot of the respect between the coaches and the league office was built by Dean Blandino. And so when Dean went into TV, I do think a little bit of that was lost, which is where some of the issues have come the last couple of years. I can also say this, like the Sky Judge with certain crews has actually already existed. And so I'll give you a great example. Everybody remembers the Earl Thomas hit on Mason Rudolph last year, right? Yep. So if you guys go back and watch that broadcast, go pull it up on Game Pass or whatever. Watch when they cut to commercial after Mason Rudolph goes down. There's no flag on the field. When they come back from commercial, there is a flag on the field. It took about 35 to 40 seconds for the flag to go on the field. Well, what happened there? Well, John Harbaugh went over to the head referee, says, well, wait a second, where'd that flag come from? And the head official said to him, the guy up in the booth told me to drop it because the hit was egregious. And Harbaugh said to the head official, oh, you mean like a Sky Judge? So they've actually been sort of using some of these things in spots over the last couple of years. I think the way that what the coaches really wanted was to formalize that, make sure everybody had the benefit of it. And again, this isn't coaches versus officials. The main thing for these coaches was giving the officials the benefit that every single one of us sitting at home with a cable subscription has, which is 8, 10, 12 different angles of crystal clear HD to see everything from. I think these coaches really thought it was crazy that the guys in the field weren't getting the benefit that tens of millions of people have sitting on their couches every day.
Yeah, the people who are in charge to make these calls have the worst view. We have the best view, so right. Why not take advantage of that to help them? I still don't understand the Saints-Rams call, non-call. The fact that there were 2 fouls, including helmet to helmet, were not called. That's where I thought, and Dean Blandino was not in the home office in New York to be able to, hey, guys, huddle up, because I think they did huddle up, and they still missed it. So how do you prevent that when we get to the postseason when you have all-star crews?
Well, and I think, and one thing that actually was brought up to me, I didn't know this, Dan, and maybe you're aware of this because you've been on the Super Bowl broadcast. Did you know that there are extra officials on the sideline during the Super Bowl that have headsets on and they're communicating with the head referees?
No.
Like, I didn't even know that. Like, and over the last couple of days of making phone calls on this, I sort of learned that. And really, it's like you said, Dan, they're trying to give more resources to these guys. And so, the idea is the head referee is still in charge of the game, but there's a guy up top, and that guy has access to the broadcast. That guy's also watching from the booth, so he has that vantage point. And so he's going to be able to communicate with the head referee. The head referee doesn't have to do anything. Like, this guy doesn't have the guy up top doesn't have the authority to stop the game. He can't throw a flag. He can't do any of that. But within the first 15 seconds of the play clock, he can buzz down. Now, I'll ask you, like in that Saints-Rams game, it didn't take 15 seconds for all of us to know it was the wrong call, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, the guy up top would have called down to the head referee, would have said, drop the flag. The ref would have dropped the flag because he trusts the guy up top, and we would have had a penalty. The Saints would have had a first down, and they'd be going to the Super Bowl. And so it's giving them that resource where it's not about getting every single judgment call right. It's about getting the black and white ones that we know are wrong corrected. And, I think that this is an efficient way to do it. It may take a year or two for them to work out the kinks and get the right people up top, but it's really, really important to these coaches that they at least start that process in 2020.
The onside kick, where do we stand with that?
So there have been some unintended consequences that have come up here. And I think what's most interesting about it to me, Dan, is that this is a rule that they haven't even put in yet, and they're already having to fix it. So that makes me a little skeptical about where we're going, right? I mean, like you look at it, so we didn't have to have this whole rule for a day before everybody could realize that there were issues with it. So when they tied up, there was the thought, okay, like if you say you take the lead, say I score a touchdown, I go up by 4 points, whatever, I'm kicking off, and there are 6 seconds left in the game. Well, if I'm that team, rather than kicking it to the other team, wouldn't I just snap the ball into 4th and 15, tell my quarterback to run around for 3 seconds and throw it to the moon? Like, it would make sense to do that, right?
Yeah.
And so they've taken care of that by making it an untimed down. But I think the fact that we're already troubleshooting the thing before it even goes in at least makes me skeptical about how this thing's going to work. Listen, I understand it's a health and safety measure that they feel like they've got to take the kickoff and the onside kicks out of the game. And that's all fine. I understand that part of it. And I understand that it's a fun thing for everybody to talk about. But it does make me a little bit kind of, I guess, just skeptical over the whole thing that they're already having to troubleshoot it before it even goes in.
In 3 years, do we have kickoffs in the NFL?
I think we do, but I think they're going to look different. And I honestly, if I were the league, I would have taken the XFL idea and I would have just implemented it in the preseason and see how it works. I mean, look, like I can tell you, most coaches I've talked to are really protective of that phase of the game, that really believe that it should remain in the game, that it's a part of the game, and that you'd be bastardizing the game by taking it out of it. And so I know a lot of the special teams coaches have done a lot of hard work to try to preserve the kickoff as best they can. It's hard to do it. But, I think the XFL found an effective way to sort of attack this. And I mean, to me, it was inventive. It was fun. It didn't totally take the idea of the kickoff away. You still had kickoff return touchdowns. So I know that that's one they've discussed. I'm surprised they didn't at least maybe look at the idea of implementing it for the preseason. I'd expect it'll get more discussion in 2021.
I don't understand that you want to take away the onside kick because you don't want another collision or collisions, but then you're going to have the marquee players who are going to come back out on the field for a 4th and 15. I would rather have the onside kickoff team than backup linebackers than I would. I got Patrick Mahomes back there for a 4th and 15 with the marquee players on the wide, on the offense, and then the defense. It's a pass. I don't know. You're asking for contact there as well.
I mean, is it a pass interference down too? That's the other thing, right, Dan?
Yeah.
4th and 15, or do you have a better shot of converting that by just throwing it up to Julio Jones and hoping somebody yanks on his jersey? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are certain things like that could come into play too. I actually talked to one coach, and this may be a little conspiracy theory-ish, but there are some coaches that feel like the NFL has, actively looked to try to take the middle class out of the league. And who's the middle class? Well, the middle class is guys like Matt Slater on the Patriots who are making $3-4 million a year and who are playing probably 6 or 8 plays a game. And so, there are, I think there is a feeling that there are some ulterior motives here on the part of the owners. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but certainly I think that there are coaches that really feel like the kickoff they've done a lot of work to try to keep the kickoff as is, and they really should try not to bastardize it too much.
I'll leave you with this. Jadeveon Clowney still on the outside looking in with maybe Tennessee, maybe back to Seattle. The Cleveland Browns offered a great deal, which I was surprised. You have Myles Garrett. You're going to have to pay him. But where does Jadeveon Clowney fit with either of these 3 teams?
Yeah, I always thought that his best option was to go back to Seattle just because I thought that was the best chance for him to have a great year. He's one of these guys that's sort of caught up in the fact that he can't take a physical. There is some instability in his knee. I know teams that were interested really wanted to have their own doctors get their hands on him. Obviously, that's not possible given the circumstances. And then there are questions about his personality. He really wore out his welcome in Houston. That's another reason why if a team's going to sign him to a big deal, they'd want him to come in and talk to them. And so those have been issues. I think his financial expectations were certainly an issue. He saw what guys like Frank Clark and DeMarcus Lawrence got, and he just shot too high early on. So I think his best bet right now is to find a place where he can go on a 1-year deal and go to a place where, the scheme's familiar. Cleveland scheme, they run a Seattle type of scheme. Scheme would be familiar there. Seattle, of course, if they'd have him back, if he could work a way to do a 1-year deal there, even if it was for less money, I think it'd be smart because he poised to have a big year there. And then, of course, the other one to keep an eye on is the Tennessee Titans because of his relationship with Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, Cleveland's got $37 million to spend here, right? Is that why didn't they spend it earlier in free agency?
Remember who's running the team there too, Dan. I mean, like come hell or high water, they're going all in on the analytics model. You can see it in the people that they've hired. You can see it in kind of the way they've set that organization up. Paul DePodesta has a lot of power in that organization. And the way analytics work in every sport, right? You put values on people and you don't really stray from that too much. And so even if you have money to spend, if the value is not there, you're not going to spend the money. And so, I think the Browns will eventually wind up spending, but you look at the positions they spend on. I mean, they go and get a tackle. Tackle's a premium position. So they spent on a Jack Conklin. I think really a lot of this boils down to, how their models are working and where they're being kind of guided to spend. Again, like if you're working on in that sort of setup, generally you're going to let value drive you. And if you don't think the value is there, even if you do have the money to spend, you're not going to overspend.
Speaking of which, Dak Prescott, everybody seems to be, sitting on the edge of their seats waiting for Dak Prescott to. What are the options here?
July 15th. I mean, to me, July 15th is, really the date that I think we've all had our eye on the whole time, and deadlines spur action. And if you want to look at the Cowboys' history, they've generally taken care of all of these guys. Zach Martin, Jalen Smith, DeMarcus Lawrence, Zeke Elliott, Amari Cooper. They take care of their own guys. There are very few guys that they've wanted to keep that they have not been able to lock up long term. The key here, though, Dan, is going to be the length of the deal. Just by sitting on his hands, okay, just by doing nothing, Dak Prescott either gets $31 million this year and becomes a free agent at 27, $70 million over the next two, free agent at 28, or $120 million over the next three and a free agent at 29. And so he doesn't have to do anything to exercise one of those three options. And so the Cowboys have to convince him they're putting something in front of him that's good enough to walk away from those three options. They haven't done that yet. And I still think the key to this deal is going to be how long it is. Dak Prescott would like a shorter deal that'll allow him to go back to the table in 3 or 4 years and capitalize on all the new TV money, the gambling money coming into the league. The Cowboys would like to sign him to a longer deal, a 5 or a 6 year deal like they did with Smith, with Elliott, with Lawrence.
Yeah, but it's amazing that Dak Prescott is making more money by not doing anything, by just sitting. Like his value keeps going up because, Deshaun Watson's what he's going to get paid. Well, they're waiting for all of this, right?
And that's the thing. Like, I mean, that's where you're playing with fire if you're the Cowboys, right, Dan? I mean,
yes.
The big one sitting out there is Patrick Mahomes. If you, you could sit here and say, well, God, $40 million a year seems like a lot for Dak Prescott. And then Pat Mahomes goes and signs a deal at 41 or 42. Like, then what? You know what? Like, then that's just where the market is. And so, I know a lot of people have said it's tough to swallow the idea of Dak Prescott at $40 million a year. Well, I mean, we can go down the list of guys who were the highest paid players in the league over the last 4 or 5 years. Was Derek Carr the best player in the league? Was Jimmy Garoppolo the best player in the league? Was Matt Ryan the best player in the league? Was Kirk Cousins the best player in the league? At one point or another, all of those guys were the highest paid player in football. It's just the way you pay quarterbacks. And so he's the next one at the table. So he's going to be the highest paid guy. And again, I think it would behoove the Cowboys to try and take care of this as soon as they can so they don't wind up having to pay a tax because they waited until after Patrick Mahomes' deal is done.
Thank you for spending time, Albert. Great stuff.
You got it, Dan. Thank you.
All right, Albert Breer, senior NFL reporter for the Monday Morning Quarterback. Take a break, play of the day in the On Deck Circle after this. I just can't imagine what. Did you ever feel sorry for Charlotte where you called up and said, you know what, we're going to trade Vlade and we would like Kobe? I mean, come on, you had to know.
Well, I think we all have favorite players in the draft, and to me, he was a pretty easy selection. I thought he was the best player in the draft, to be honest with you. I've said that before. And, our hopes were to try to be able to acquire a free agent, and certainly that was Shaquille O'Neal. We were able to do that. And one of the things I said to Shaquille when we were talking, at that point in time, you could only talk, you couldn't meet with him, and we talked a lot, and I had never met him before. We got to be good friends over the phone, and it was amazing to talk about. The only thing I said to him, I don't believe that you ever say anything derogatory about a franchise. I think you have to extol the virtues of the ownership and also the people you're working with. You should never talk derogatory about another franchise. And, when players leave, they have the right to leave today. But at that point in time, it was much more easy, I think, to make deals because you didn't have agents involved. You didn't have players telling you where they wanted to go. At that point in time, people were pretty loyal. And it's completely changed. The landscape has changed. And, who wouldn't want to play for some of the teams in these leagues with these historic names over the years? And certainly the Lakers were one at that point in time. And to get Shaquille and to get a young puppy and Kobe Bryant, that was pretty special in 1 year.
Dan, I was watching TV last night, and my wife goes, let's find a new show to watch. I was like, okay. So I did some research, and I heard a tip about a show around here. So I looked at different shows, and I found a show called Suburra, Blood in Rome. Okay. The title, I think it's a Netflix show. It's an Italian mafia show. It's about a coastal town near Rome, political people, organized crime, local gangs, real estate, the churches, a lot of characters going on. We watched the first 4 minutes of it, and my wife goes, turn it off. It's too harsh.
Oh, dear. Really?
Turn it off. It's too harsh. My wife's not squeamish. She watches Sopranos. She loves Breaking Bad. I've never really known her to be like, nope, can't do it. 4 minutes in, turn it off. It's too harsh.
That's great.
Does that make you want to watch a show more or less now?
Less because you said organized crime. And in Italy, haven't we been over this? I have no interest in watching this.
Yes, you do.
No, not at all.
What about you guys?
I've just added it to my queue.
Yeah, I'd be more interested.
But wait,
to see what's so bad?
Why is it too harsh? What was going on?
The first scene.
Well, isn't it in the title, Blood on Rome? I mean,
the first scene isn't actually violent, but it is like, whoa. Yeah. I mean, it makes you either not want to watch it or sign up for both seasons if there's another season.
Interesting.
It's a wild scene the first 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
But this now, so do you guys, if you're in the middle of watching something, so I'm interested in this.
Yeah.
Do I start watching it tonight, or do I add it to the end of what I'm already have in line to watch? I have 3 more episodes of something that I'm watching now, and then I should start it, say, on Sunday night, something like that.
Stick to what you're already in the middle
Finish
of.
what you started. Well, I have a bigger issue, Seton. I want to watch this series now.
Yeah.
My wife wants no part of it. So now I have to go to the basement and sneak in an episode here and there, pretend I'm playing video games and watch Suburra.
Because now she's judging you based on it's too harsh for her. Why do you want to watch it, though? Like, what does it say about you, Paul?
Stay tuned.
What is your deal?
I still wonder if you pitched to Bonds when he got walked, 200 times one season? If you 230 times he got walked.
Yeah.
Let's say you pitched to him half of those. He's hitting 90 home runs.
He might be. It would probably be like the great Ricky Henderson told me when I won a stolen base title. He called me up and he said, 60 stolen bases? You ought to be ashamed. Ricky has 60 at the break.
Wait, Ricky called you up to make fun of you?
Oh, yeah.
I love how he goes.
Told you that?
No.
Yeah, so I won the stolen base title, and Ricky got hurt that year. He had like 30. It's the only time in the 80s. You can Google it. All right? I get home, season ends, phone rings. Henderson here. He always talks in third person.
Oh, yeah.
So I said, what's up, Rick? He goes, man, you ought to be ashamed. I go, what are you talking about? He said, 60 stolen bases? You ought to be ashamed. Ricky has 60 at the break. Click, hung up. And so I guess Barry Bonds would be calling people right now saying, you ought to be ashamed.
I always think of Ricky Henderson. I think of James Brown, the entertainer.
No doubt.
I just do for some reason.
I love Ricky, man. He is something else.
Ricky B. Ricky.
Oh, my God.
The play of the day.
Runner left, I got it.
This is the play of the day. Check this out.
The pitch. Bonds hits one high. Hits it deep to center. Out of here. 7:15. The wait is over. And they are on their feet here at AT&T Park. Bonds passes Babe Ruth. He is second on the all-time home run list.
That's courtesy of Fox Sports Bay Area. 14 years ago today, Barry Bonds passed Babe Ruth, second on the all-time home run list. Took him a year and a little bit to pass Hank Aaron at 756 on the all-time home run list. Bonds has the most home runs in baseball history. Hank Aaron is the all-time home run champ. Yes, I said it. Play of the day brought to you by LegalZoom. You need to make it legal. Make it LegalZoom.com. Take care of your family today. The right estate plan at LegalZoom.com. Had somebody who sent me an email about the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry. His name is Jared Caro. Love the show. As someone who lived in Michigan from birth, Albert Breer is right on the rivalry with Ohio State. Ohio State doesn't mean as much to Michigan as it does to Ohio State. When I lived in Michigan, our main rivalry was Notre Dame. We got up more for that game than we did Ohio State. If you look at it, Michigan has three rivalries, big rivalries, Michigan State, Notre Dame, and Ohio State, whereas Ohio State only has Michigan. Ohio State's tried to bring USC and others in for that rivalry, but it's never the same. It's newer and not much of a rivalry, so Ohio State really has only one game to get up for, while Michigan has three. Do they get up for those three, though? They're supposed to. I like the Notre Dame-Michigan rivalry, but I've only watched the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry from Ohio State, being in Columbus. I haven't seen it in Michigan. Michigan-Notre Dame, I think the Danettes a couple of years ago went to that, and that was a pretty exciting moment, I think, with that game in Ann Arbor. Yeah, Paul?
I've been to a Michigan home game against Ohio State. I've been to an Ohio State home game against Michigan. And the Michigan seemed like a good time, a party. And, it's a big game, obviously, the 105,000. When you took me to see Ohio State, Michigan in Columbus, and the entire tone of the town, we were there for 2 nights, felt like there was business going on that weekend. It was very serious. They didn't seem to be having a good time. It was like, we're here to beat Michigan today, and then after the game, we'll celebrate. It had a very serious tone.
But Ohio State fans understand that every game that they play is big because there's a national title at stake. Ohio State is against Michigan is big because if that's your rivalry, you want to make sure you don't lose to them because any loss is going to hurt you playing for a national title. Michigan, if they lose to Ohio State, they're not playing for a national title. That might mean they're playing in the Outback Bowl instead of the Rose Bowl. But, Michigan is not on par with Wisconsin right now. Michigan State has taken a step back here. But, I don't think Ohio State looks at Michigan as a true rivalry the way it used to be. Now, when I was growing up, Michigan beat Ohio State. And that, when they had quarterbacks that I didn't think were great, but they ended up beating Ohio State back then. It was Bo Schembechler, and he got the best of Woody Hayes. But it's changed considerably because Urban Meyer brought the SEC to Columbus. He brought athletes to Columbus. It wasn't this physical, we're going to dominate you. Urban Meyer brought that Florida feel to Ohio State. And you had it feels like there's a big difference, and you watch the athletes for Ohio State and Michigan. Like the recruiting, big difference there. And you see that when you're on the field. Mclovin, what's the poll question you're going with?
Okay, well, actually, I put up for the first hour, if you're an NBA player, do you want your family there? Yeah. 60% said no. We have a couple more options.
For a variety of reasons.
Yeah, well, we were focusing on competitiveness.
Of course.
And a few months into quarantine.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
Maybe this side of the glass was voting. No, I don't know what you're talking about. We have a couple of more interesting options. I can give them to you. We have a Baker Mayfield and a scandalous athlete poll.
We'll hear from Baker Mayfield coming up next hour. Also, former Mets general manager Steve Phillips. He works for MLB Network on Sirius XM. Get his thoughts on the players and the owners and how do we settle this. And Jerry West in the final hour. 1 hour in the books, 2 more to go here on the Dan Patrick Show. All right, before you leave, we've had the quarterbacks, Marino, Alex Smith. They've thrown a couple passes to Mclovin. Mclovin has gloves on. We prepared a football for you. Could you light it up a little bit?
Yeah, I'll light it up.
Okay. Because I don't know.
I've only thrown the 3 footballs yesterday since
you got
November,
injured?
but I'll be all right.
Okay. And are you 100% now?
Yeah, I feel good.
Okay. Yeah. All right, we're going to find out. Mclovin, stand up. All right. By the way, Case Keenum brought a jersey for Mclovin.
Oh, no. You're not gonna All right.
How's that?
Is that a Greg Jennings jersey?
How does that impact how you're going to throw the football at Mclovin? He's got a Vikings jersey on here. You got to get a helmet on, Mclovin. Get your helmet.
I really need a helmet?
Well, I don't. Do you trust Aaron that he's going to hit you right where he needs to hit you?
All
right.
Yeah. All right.
Here we go. All right. It's been quite a week for Mclovin. Dan Marino threw a couple balls. Alex Smith, Case Keenum. Now, there you go.
What do you want me to run?
He's your Jordy Nelson here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just go down and stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you just stand?
Get your head around quickly.
No.
We're doing 2, right?
Okay.
2?
Yeah, we're doing 2.
Okay.
All right, here we go. All right, Mclovin. All righty. Oh, boy. What?
That was the easy one.
I got taken out by the safety. I had no idea that was there. Can someone help me out a little bit?
Well, why don't you just stand there so you don't run into the pole?
All right. Wait. Can you throw a little harder, Aaron? Come on.
Yeah, I said one easy one, one hard one.
Yeah. Aaron, how does anybody catch that ball?
Yeah.
Is he gone?
You just get your hands up. Get ready.
No.
One more?
Okay, one more.
Dude, look at the ring it left on the window.
Do you see the window there where it hit? All right, here we go. Okay, you caught it. It did not hit the ground. He survived the ground. Well done. Thank you, buddy. I'll see you next week. Let's see. Aaron Rodgers.
Thanks, boys.
Thank you. Deion Sanders will join us coming up next. I think Mclovin got roughed up just a little bit there with his hand. I think you hurt your hand there. Are you?
That second one was terrifying.
Are you okay?
Did it almost break the window?
It put a dent. It put a little imprint there. Yeah, I can read the commissioner's name on the window there.
That was like Randy Johnson throwing to John Kruk.
That velocity, I mean, it's on you, and you're about 15 yards away, but that's some heat there. Yes, Paul.
I think we're losing our security deposit on this bad boy.
We haven't broke anything yet.
What other quarterbacks are coming through here? Is there anybody like an older
who's
guy?
on the show tomorrow? Oh, Drew Brees tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's not competitive. That's not going to be a problem.
I know. Brees is probably the most competitive guy who comes in the building here.
A certain Giants quarterback, Eli Manning's also going to be part of it.
Eli's going to join us. All right. J.J. Watt will join us as well. Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Dan Patrick.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Dan Patrick.
He's the commissioner of the National Hockey League, Gary Bettman. What if a player tests positive in the middle of the playoffs? Then what?
The medical people are telling us one test would require that player to be isolated, and you don't need an overreaction. If you have an outbreak, that's a completely different story. What constitutes an outbreak, what procedures we need to follow, that is something that the medical people are going to tell us. We'll be doing what medical people tell us is appropriate under the circumstances.
Bringing you the biggest guests and best interviews.
I give you credit. You know you're getting booed, but you still love taking that trophy out there.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
When do I get booed?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
This is Dan Patrick.
It's hour 2 on this Thursday. Dan of the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. I'm wondering that when the National Hockey League gets back on the ice, they have the Stanley Cup final, and then you have the commissioner taking out the Stanley Cup trophy. Do you pump in booze just to make him feel at home there? All right, welcome to the program. Boys are here, ready to go. We'll talk to Steve Phillips, former Mets general manager. Now he works for the MLB network on SiriusXM. Get his thoughts on the players and the owners. And this is the Hatfields and the McCoys, and they've made it public. And it doesn't feel like there's a resolution. Now, what happens a lot of times when you have a lockout, you have a strike, it doesn't take much to get everybody back together. It's usually 1 or 2 items. Now, it feels like there's a lot more, but it feels like there's 1 or 2 items. This is just the monetary aspect of this. You still have to get all the safeguards in place of where you're playing and the testing, and is there fans, and who gets to go to the game? What about the media? How many members of the media get to go? What is the process just to get into the game, to cover the game, to play in the game? All of these items that are there. But money is the issue here. And it has been the issue, and the players, it feels like, are taking a stand, saying no more pay cuts here. But we'll talk to Steve Phillips. He's a calming voice on this. He's seen both sides. He's a former player, and of course worked in the front office with the Mets. So he'll join us coming up. I got to ask Steve: was Steve there offering Bobby Bonilla his contract that the Mets are still paying for? Could you check that, Mclovin? I don't want to put this on Steve, but they did sign Bobby Bonilla to that, 25-year deal where I think he's still getting paid by the... He was playing for other teams and still getting paid by the Mets. But I think it is going to go on for a few more years. Yeah, Paulie?
That contract started in 2011 and ends in 2035. The total payout is $30 million. But I think a lot of those contracts are... The GM does a good job in deferring money, allowing you to sign another player for that upcoming season. So from a baseball standpoint, that may have not have been a bad move.
It
that's
always
the purpose.
Feels like it was a bad move. I don't know. But I don't want to put that on Steve that he's the one who... He did pull off the trade for Piazza, so I got to be fair to him on that, too. Yeah, Paul.
Every time you look up on the internet, Bobby Bonilla in contract, there's always lots of stories of him. And they use this picture of Bobby Bonilla where he's smiling like he just won the lottery. Like it's the biggest smile.
He did win the lottery. Yes, McLovin.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to bring up Bonilla in the next day. It seems like Steve was involved. Edmo Vaughn.
Oh. All right, scrap that then. There's no reason to bring that up. No reason to bring up any history there. But he'll join us. Jerry West will join us coming up in an hour from now. 82 years of age. Love having Jerry on. So we'll have the Hall of Famer, Mr. Clutch. I had a stat here, and I'll bring it up this hour because there's no way I'm going to bring it up next hour when Jerry joins us. Jerry West is one of 8 players to win the NCAA Final Four Most Outstanding Player and win the MVP in the NBA Finals. But Jerry West is the only one to do both in losing efforts.
Stat of the day, stat of the day, stat of the day, stat of the day. Here comes that what? Stat of the day.
Why am I going negative here? I got Steve Phillips on. I appreciate that. No need to bring up Bobby Bonilla or Mo Vaughn. Jerry West on. But how good do you have to be that you're the most valuable player in the NBA Finals and you lose, and you were in the NCAA Final Four, you're the most outstanding player, and you lose as well. So Jerry will join us coming up next hour. Phone calls are welcome. We settle on a poll question or something different this hour, Mclovin?
Okay, we have a couple different options. We did the first hour to NBA players, or would you want your family there? People said no for whatever reason.
Okay, all right.
Paulie threw out this question with the Lance Armstrong documentary out there and Barry Bonds we talked about last hour. Who will history treat the harshest over time? Barry Bonds, Lance Armstrong, Houston Astros. I'm not sure who else.
The Astros aren't in there.
Yeah, okay.
No, well, it's like, hey, they cheated. All right, we move on. Lance Armstrong, I have no idea why he agreed to do this documentary, be a part of it, because he has no self-awareness. It is amazing to watch him. But then I wonder if he ever had self-awareness, because he's not helping his cause, his case. If he's trying to ingratiate himself, he's not doing a good job at all. And Bonds was like this. We understood that this is who Bonds was. Bonds wasn't trying to be your friend. He didn't care. Lance, it feels like, can't understand why you don't admire him, or you don't want him to be your friend, or whatever approach you may have or thoughts about that. Lance doesn't have self-awareness during this documentary. It doesn't come off well. I think Bonds probably will be treated harshest because it was baseball. I mean, we sort of care. The reason why Lance Armstrong hurts a little bit more to people is we feel we were duped by Live Strong. We feel we were duped by his story. You know, him winning the Tour de France, we didn't care about the Tour de France. But then Lance won, and all of a sudden when's the last time you locked in and went, can't wait to watch the Americans in the Tour de France? Chances are it was probably when Lance was racing, because I don't think you care. If we have a chance to win, we care. I mentioned the America's Cup, yachting. We don't, what do we know or care about yachting? But we lost the America's Cup, then we wanted it back. It meant war. Yeah, Paulie.
But don't you think that the Astros will go down in history as the one proven cheating team to win a title in American sports history? I don't know of another that, if there is one, I don't know of it. We don't know of it. But they're going to go down as a team. There's no question. There's very little question. I think there's no question. They cheated to win a World Series.
We don't know how many times they cheated. We know they cheated.
Okay.
But we don't know how many games they cheated.
But the problem with them is they won. I'm sure there's other teams that cheated and got in trouble and things like that. But the season they are accused of cheating, they won the World Series. So when they go through the list, it's like, remember those guys?
Well, what about teams that use steroids, like football teams? The Nebraska Cornhuskers won national titles, and there was evidence that their players were using steroids, their offensive line. Did they cheat? Did the Pittsburgh Steelers, with those players on their offensive line, did they cheat? Or was it everybody else is cheating, so it's not cheating? Like Lance's, I guess his philosophy is everybody else was cheating. I was just better at them at cheating. He's not denying that he cheated. I think what he's saying is, what's the big deal? Everybody was cheating. So what? Yes, Mclovin.
I mean, I think the Red Sox won in 18. I can't remember what year they got officially busted for, but they were doing the same thing as the Astros, right?
Yeah, but we don't know. What were the penalties? The Red Sox fired their manager, but their baseball didn't come down hard on the Red Sox for cheating.
I think they said did something to them, right? Did they?
Exactly. We don't even know what they did.
Right. Yeah.
So now, did the Astros cheat? Absolutely. I don't know if we're going to vilify the Astros, in 20, 25 years from now.
My point was that a lot of teams are probably doing what the Astros are doing. That'll help them in the long term.
That is true. I think doctoring baseballs, that's why when I think there was that moment between Jim Leland and Tony La Russa in the World Series, and it's like, you going to call, his pitcher on that? Like, no, because you knew that your pitcher was doing the same thing. Nope, I'm good. Yep. Nothing to see here. Just keep going. Let me see. A couple of things. I saw where Baker Mayfield Jr. III had a not a press conference, but a teleconference, and I guess it was just meeting with members of the media and the Browns writers since he can't be there in person. And Baker Mayfield had this to say about his new philosophy moving into this season.
I have a different approach to this year. Everybody that has been interviewed in our team has kind of hit the nail on the head over and over about, it's just time to work. It's time to do our thing instead of talking about it. So this is the first media thing I've done just because there's no need to be talking about it. It's just time to go do it. And right now it's, kind of moving in silence, which is fine with me. That's how I used to do it before getting on a bigger stage. So I'm happy to get back to those roots. And like I said earlier, get back to the fundamentals to where I can accomplish the goals when the season comes around.
Yay! He finally listened to me. No commercials, no nothing. Don't challenge anybody in the media. Just shut up and play football. And you want to put people, you want to put them in their corner there. You can do that by playing great football. You can shut everybody else up by just playing great football. You don't have to talk a good game. You must play a good game. This is the most important year of Baker's career because this is going to decide if the Cleveland Browns are going to go, hey, this is a guy we're going to sign to a second contract here. You got offensive line help. You got a tight end, new tight end. You got your wide receivers. You got 2 running backs here. No excuses here. No more excuses. He should have if he doesn't have 30 touchdown passes, he had a bad year this year. They are a playoff team, and he should have 30 touchdown passes. And if they take him back to what he did his first year or when how he played in college, that will be very important for Baker Mayfield. Very important. But be quiet. You didn't earn anything. Now you can prove it. And then you could get that second contract. But the more he talked, the worse it got. The more he challenged people, the worse it got. Just let your play tell everybody what it needs to. Because, believe me, it will. Yeah, Paul.
I completely disagree with this. Baker Mayfield got to where he is. A Heisman, Oklahoma football, 11 wins, first-round pick, his rookie of the year, all by being brash and in your face. I have the feeling a year from now, we're going to hear Baker Mayfield say, you know what, I got to get back to being me. I got to get back to challenging people, getting in people's faces. Last year, I tried to go into a shell and let the media control me. That's what we're going to hear a year from now.
Okay. Well, it didn't go well last year when he was Baker Mayfield, and it certainly helps when you're at Oklahoma and you're playing those defenses.
Kansas?
Yeah, yeah. All of a sudden, you look a whole lot better there. NFL humbles you, man. They humble you. That's what happened. Good story, underdog story, and all of a sudden you go, oh, look at Baker Mayfield. He's been great. The second year, hey, we got Odell Beckham, and hey, we're going to go to the Super Bowl. And then all of a sudden you go, nope, you're not even leaving Cleveland, dude. You're not going anywhere. Yeah, Paul.
This is kind of how Cam Newton's career started out. His first year he was in the Pro Bowl, 21 touchdowns, 17 picks. The next year he cooled off. His percentage was down. His touchdowns were down.
Yeah.
His productivity was down. And then the following year, he's 12-4. His third year in the league, Cam Newton was 12-4.
Yeah. And look, I like Baker. I like that personality, but there's a time and a place for it. And it felt like he would be playing bad and those progressive commercials would come on and you go, no, that's not good. Now, those are funny if you're 12-4. You know, when Peyton did all his commercials, and Peyton was winning, that's the difference. If Peyton's going 5-11, you're going, oh, okay, yeah, it's really funny. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, all right, Peyton with his drawl, Southern drawl, nationwide or whatever. Got Brad Paisley here, Brad. Not as funny. Clever. Certainly was clever when he was winning. And that Peyton, he's funny because he's winning. Baker? No. I also saw this. Foregone conclusion, Tua Tagovailoa will start in week 1, ? The Dolphins have indicated that Tua Tagovailoa. So if you're going to do clickbait, you do not put a question mark there.
Question mark means it's not a story.
Foregone conclusion, Tua Tagovailoa will start week 1. It's not a foregone conclusion if I got a question mark there. Foregone conclusion, Tua Tagovailoa will start week 1, ? Okay. The Dolphins have indicated that Tagovailoa might start the season on the bench until he's ready to start in the 2020 season. But Bleacher Report's Mike Freeman, fine NFL writer, says that Tagovailoa starting week 1 is a foregone conclusion. Wait, if your writer is saying it's a foregone conclusion, then don't put a question mark by it.
Is he saying or is he reporting? Because those are two different things.
Right.
Seton can say that Tua's going to start.
Well, let me see if he's got sources here.
Well, my sources right now are telling me he's either going to start week 1 or be on the bench, be a backup.
Let me see what this says. The Dolphins, week 1 is a foregone conclusion. Let me see if there's anything else in here.
Let's go with it. They probably, let's just publish it.
I clicked on the story. I think Todd added the question mark because I don't see the question mark in the story.
Todd, did you put the question mark there? Did you edit this? You got to turn on your mic. That's how it works.
I put a question mark in the headline, but in my headline, for the subject of the email.
Why are you doing that? Who the hell are you to put a question mark in the headline?
Because that was my way of saying, this is a surprising piece of news. That Fitzpatrick, who's the number one, he's supposed to be ahead of Tua, and all of a sudden,
but you're not the editorial staff here for Bleacher Report.
I'm not. I took a little liberty there, I guess.
I apologize to Mike Freeman. I didn't know that Todd was all of a sudden going to be editing this.
That was my question as to, really, this is interesting. Tua could be starting.
Okay.
So wait a minute. Hold on a second. Because there's 2 question marks, right? There's the subject of Todd's email that says Tua starting week 1, ? And then the next part is foregone conclusion, Tua will start week 1, ? Todd, did you put both of those question marks in?
Anything in the actual copy, I did not put a question mark. But my only question mark was in the subject line.
I clicked on the story. There's no question mark.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you brought that to our attention. Do you want to apologize on behalf of this?
I guess I have to. It's a journalistic faux pas.
But it says foregone conclusion. It says foregone conclusion, Todd.
That's what's being reported.
I know, but you don't. If you want to put after we'll start week 1, then you put, boy, I have a question mark about this.
But the Dolphins announced that he's the starting quarterback? Until the Dolphins announce he's the starting quarterback.
Don't try it, Todd. Don't try it.
Because some sources are saying that it's a foregone conclusion. Until the Dolphins come out and say our starting quarterback week 1 is Tua, then that's a question mark to me. When does a reporter get to tell a team who's the starting quarterback?
For him, he's not putting a question mark after this.
In his report,
yes,
underlined report. It's still a report. It's not fact. It's a report.
I know, but
I understand what you're saying,
He says it's a foregone conclusion. That's his report, his opinion. It's a foregone conclusion.
That's great. I think the reason why I put the question mark in, not to confuse you and the rest of the audience,
then I apologize.
Was because the Dolphins have not said that he's the starting quarterback.
No, that's not the way this works. That's not the way this works.
So I caused a journalistic piece of confusion there.
Yes, you did.
So I will apologize for that.
Well, doesn't sound like you want to.
I'll be more careful with my punctuation and my.
No, you can say, boy, I got questions about this. But you've added a question mark in the title. The headline.
I probably should have put "really?" question mark.
That would have been good.
Like that would have been good. Leave it for interpretation after that.
Yeah. Right. So, Mike Freeman, we apologize.
Cleared that up.
Just move on. Nothing to see here.
So it looks like Tua is definitely the week 1 quarterback, regardless of what the Dolphins front office has to say.
Here we go. There's the toddler. There he is. Passive aggressive. Here he is. Ladies and gentlemen.
That's great that Mike Freeman is assistant GM of the Dolphins. That's awesome.
Every story you see where somebody makes a declaration, do you put a question mark?
For now on, my subject are going to be.
No, do you do this at all of them? Because this isn't the first time somebody. Oh, you have?
But it hasn't caused this kind of ruckus and confusion.
You just can't say, you know what, my bad.
I should probably just say, check out this story, or just
20 after the hour. We'll talk to Steve Phillips, the former Mets general manager, will join us.
Or will we?
Question mark.
Oh, wait a second. I'm getting a note on the wires here. Mike Freeman, new vice president of player personnel.
I like how somehow all of a sudden, because Todd screwed up, he's attacking Mike Freeman. Like somehow it's his fault that
because
Todd
we're all hanging on that particular
can't
sentence
manage
of that
to send
story.
a basic
Mike
email
Freeman
to the group.
did his job. He did something. He got some information there, and you're going to.
What response was gotten from the Dolphins for the foregone conclusion? You would think he or somebody would have went to Dolphins and say,
What the hell
"We're
are
hearing
you
it's
talking
a foregone
about?
conclusion."
What response has been given by the foregone conclusion from?
I want to know what the
Stetson?
Dolphins' response is to the report that it's a foregone conclusion.
Todd, this is where you always try to talk yourself out of something. You do.
I'm the only one on the staff that does that.
And you, 20 after the hour. This is the Dan Patrick Show. ?
Tua, I can't wait to see him start week 1.
Shut up.
That's fantastic.
You check things all the time, like your email, Instagram. Maybe you check Mike Freeman's column and you put a question mark after one of his headlines there. But check something important like your credit. Discover makes it quick and easy, and best of all, it's free. Discover's now offering FICO credit scores, score used by 90% of top lenders, and doing so for free, even if you're not a customer. Checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard is free for everyone. You can learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. That's discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply. I think you saw a little bit of you in Kobe. I don't know. Did you?
Well, as I say, I was a completely different personality. I was more introverted than him, and I played the game. I didn't like the players I played against. To me, it was more like a war, which is the way Kobe approached the game, and I think that's why that he just grew. That part of him grew on me. I see the players today all smiling, giggling on the bench today. Teams getting beat by 20 points, and oh my gosh, as a player, I don't think I could do that. I don't think it's fair to the game. I don't think it's fair to the fans. People enjoy the incredible personalities we have, these enormous athletes we have playing in the game today. It was always much more serious to me when a fan paid to come to see a game. They paid for two things: playing as hard as you could possibly play, and also hoping that if they were rooting for the Lakers at that point in time, that they won. And as I say, it's not that I dislike players today, but I wish there was more. When I see teams laughing and they're 20 points behind, oh my goodness, that really bothers me. And frankly, I probably, if I were running a team today, I probably would have a talk with players because I don't think that's the way it should be approached. People pay a lot of money to see these players play. And they play to see them because some of them are just attract fans. Some of them are, people just admire so much. LeBron James comes to mind today. And a number of others in the league. But some of them have personalities that people come to see. And again, LeBron James was one of those guys, Kareem, Shaquille O'Neal. And I mentioned those guys, Kobe, Irvin Johnson. And to think almost all of these unbelievable players, how many of them played in Los Angeles for this city, to see that kind of talent every night, you just don't see that. It's like having a chance to go see Whitney Houston, Pavarotti. It's an event. and they get to see him.
Get spoiled
sometimes a year.
Yeah,
you do get spoiled. Your fans get spoiled, and their critics come out. All the people that were critical of Kobe when he was, when things weren't going for the team, all of the people who are now praising him, they're the same people that were criticizing him because they were looking to create controversy when there was no controversy. It was just a young player and a team trying to find an identity for themselves, and God pity those people.
I hated to have you on in these circumstances, but I'm glad I had you on because you came to mind immediately in your role in all of this, and I hope there's some kind of smile that you can have at some point in this week, Jerry. And as always, I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, Dan. It's just today was bad. Yes, it was really horrible, and today really hadn't started out very well either. So it'll be a while, but again, my thought, prayers go out to the families that were affected by this, and how devastating it was for so many people, and to lose this iconic leader of young men and women who is embarking on his second career. Again, it just doesn't seem fair.
Coming up in a little bit, we'll talk about tailgating at college football games. I brought this up a couple of weeks ago. Article in New York Magazine by Will Leach, who lives in Athens, Georgia, and he proposed the question that we asked a couple of weeks ago. What if no fans are allowed in the stands, but you still have people show up to tailgate at the stadium? We'll talk about that coming up. One of the bright baseball minds that I worked with at the mothership, he's Steve Phillips, host of Leadoff Spot on MLB Network and Sirius XM, former Mets GM. He joins us on the program. Steve, full disclosure, I heard you on Mad Dog Radio this morning coming in, and I said, you know what? Steve is making some nice, concrete, bite-sized answers here, giving opinions on both sides of this. And I thought, you know what? Let me have him come on and summarize exactly what is going on with Major League Baseball right now. So thanks for joining us on short notice, and it's great to see you.
Good to see you, too, and glad to be here. And obviously, these negotiations going on. Baseball made their proposal, and it was effectively a non-starter for the union. The idea of the sliding scale. I think the way to look at it is owners have proclaimed that they're going to lose 40% of the revenues without fans in the stands. That includes ticket sales, concessions, parking, all of that, that it's 40%. The proposal they made to the players on taking a pay cut off of the prorated salary is a sliding scale that impacts guys differently depending upon how much money they make. But effectively, on average, they're asking the players to take a 33% pay cut. Now, so effectively, the 40% loss, they're actually putting 33% of that on the players and only holding 7% of that themselves from the owner's perspective. So it's a non-starter for the players. They don't like the sliding scale and the way it's sort of spread out. And so the union now looking to put together a counter proposal that we're hearing is going to be prorated salaries. That's it. And we want more games. And from the owner's perspective, they're looking at it saying we lose about $680,000 per game paying prorated salaries without fans in the stands. More games is worse for the owners, and it pushes the regular season deeper into the fall, where the owners have a real concern that they might lose the playoffs with the second wave of the virus. And the playoffs is the biggest line item of revenue for owners right now, that playoff share of the network money. They can't put that at risk. And so therein lies the problem in this negotiation.
All right, let me make you the mediator here. You're going to bring both sides together. What is the common ground that will allow us to be able to play baseball?
Right. So the first thing the players need to understand is the owner's perspective. There's two things. One, not having fans in the stands is a major issue when it comes to revenues that needs to be addressed. That a player getting 100% of his day's pay when the owner's getting 60% of revenue, that's the problem. The players need to acknowledge it, and they have to get off of the prorated salaries. The other thing the players need to understand is that if they're going to get paid, the owners are going to pay them up front, and then make themselves whole by collecting the playoff money. If the playoffs don't happen, then it's catastrophic losses for the owners. So the players need to protect the owners with the risk of losing the playoffs. From the owner's perspective, they need to understand for the players that prorated salaries already cripples them at half their pay, and taking less than that with where they are and the fact they have short-term lifespan as a baseball player, that ultimately they're the ones going on the field taking the physical risk. That has dollar value that needs to be acknowledged. And so ultimately the two sides need to understand prorated salaries at 100% will not get a deal done. The players are going to have to come off of that. And the owners are not going to get a 50-50 share of the losses with the players because they're taking physical risk, and the owners can make it up in the future by just making different business decisions next year. And they could have expansion a couple of years from now where they could have $1 billion franchise fee and make themselves whole in a significant way. So the middle ground is get off of the prorated salaries, but the owners are not going to get a 20% split of the 40% loss. It's going to be players take a 10% reduction in your prorated salary, but you're going to have to defer some of that money, and it will be paid contingent upon whether we have the playoffs or not. And if we get there, you get the full share of a 10% pay cut off your prorated salary. We make a deal and we move on.
I wonder about this, looking back on the NFL deal that the owners and players struck. And what I thought the Players Association did brilliantly was play to the guys that aren't making a lot of money. We're going to get you benefits here. Therefore, they were going to get the votes they needed to have this pass. You have the haves and the have-nots. And it feels like Mike Trout or Max Scherzer, those guys are taking the biggest financial haircut. Whereas it feels like the owners or the commissioners playing to the guys who are making minimum here, like these guys have to come back. Mike Trout or Max Scherzer, they don't have to come back. Is there going to be a war between the haves and the have-nots inside the Players Association?
Right. So you're 100% right. Now, I don't believe that was the owner's purpose in their offer to split the union, but it could have been a residual impact of it. Now, it could backfire on them, because 65% of the players make between the minimum salary and $1 million. Those players under the owner's proposal will play half the season, 50% of the season, and get 46% of their pay. They're not damaged that significantly. A guy like Mike Trout is going to play half the season and get 22% of his pay. And so that feels there's like an injustice there, but 65% of the players are pretty safe. I got to tell you, I think the players are more tightly united than what the owners gave them credit for. Now, I know you got a lot of guys out there talking, and they may not be as united from their leadership to contain themselves, but I don't think there's any player that's going to look at Mike Trout and say, yeah, your $36 million should turn into $7 million this year, and you should take the bulk of the payback to the owners and all of this. And so I think there's going to have to be that's why I think the players' response to the owner's proposal will be like, yeah, that's a nice offer. We don't care anything about that. Our counter proposal is not going to work off of your system, your format, your structure. We're going to come at you completely differently with our proposal.
Yeah, but I'm concerned about, we're talking to Steve Phillips, host of MLB Radio Network on SiriusXM. I'm concerned about when you start to look at this with guys wanting to come back. This is a star-driven league. I mean, we do show up for Clayton Kershaw or, Aaron Judge or Mike Trout. If they're not coming back, the guys who make all this money, are people going to be that starved to say, hey, I'm okay with watching the Phillies without Bryce Harper here? Do they run the risk of that, Steve?
Yeah, I think they do. I think the risk exists. And yet, and the other, for other reasons, they still might make a deal and some players might not play. Mike Trout's wife's expecting a baby. And the notion of, does he put himself at risk and his wife and baby at risk? Garrett Cole's wife's expecting a baby. They're the two highest paid guys out there. So that does, I think players will play. And if they don't, I still think it's a compelling enough product that you're going to get players to show up and play and fans are going to watch because we're desperate. We're desperate to be able to watch some live sports here in the States.
Yeah, I just wonder how this goes horribly wrong. And baseball has to know its place in the sports society, the sports landscape here. And I think that it feels tenuous, Steve.
It does. I think that this negotiation is not exclusive to the 2020 season. We've got a collective bargaining agreement that's due to expire at the end of 2021. That's just on the horizon. And there's a high level of distrust, which I thought we had made up a lot of ground with labor peace for a long period of time. But man, we went right back to the Hatfields and McCoys here. I mean, it has gotten ugly right out of the get-go. And the players don't trust the owners' numbers. When the owners say it's going to cost us 40%, the players are like, okay, let's show us the books. And the owners have never just shown the books. Now, the owners may be telling the truth that it's 40% of their revenues, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a 40% loss, because some part of that 40% might be coming out of some of the profits that they were making. And so it might turn in a 40% loss of revenue might be a 20% loss this year. And so the players, Max Scherzer came out and said, we're not coming off prorated numbers unless you show us the books. If you show us the books, we'll make it public and then we'll go along with it. And he thinks the reason the owners don't want to do it is that they're telling a different story. I got to tell you that, Dan, having been in the front office for 13 years, I never saw the second set of books if there's two sets of books. The way we set it up with the Mets was we set up to break even. We projected revenues, worked backwards off of that as to what payroll could be, minor league expenses, scouting expenses, and set up to break even. If we won and went to the playoffs, we made money. If we lost and we were losing money, we traded guys at the deadline, trying to get back to break even. There wasn't this secret set of books with the super sauce somewhere that they're hiding money. I never saw it if there were those set of books.
You, of course, were the GM with the Mets with the Bobby Bonilla deal. And I'm wondering, I think it allowed you guys to sign Mike Hampton. Is that fair to say? It freed up some money. But if you look back on that deal, would you make that deal again with Bobby Bonilla?
Yeah. So remember, we're releasing Bobby Bonilla, and ownership said, that his group, his agency, had represented Darryl Strawberry back in the day, where they had done deferred compensation. And Bonilla, people don't know this, when he first signed with the Mets the first time around, he had deferred compensation with them too. He still gets some payments from that first deal he made with the Mets, deferred compensation. And so, here's the thought on that, though, was the Mets looked at it at the time is we had Bernie Madoff as an investment vehicle. So the Mets looked at deferring Bonilla's compensation as a way for the team to make money, that they were going to take his, I think it was $6.8 million or whatever that number was, release him, and then invest that money with Madoff and put it out for 10 years, not paying Bonilla anything, and then spread it out over 25 years of payments, of equal payments. And so I would just tell, hey, give it to the accounting department, let them crunch numbers. And if Madoff returned this percentage or that percentage or that percentage, how much money would he make on Bonilla's money? And the notion was that we had a chance to make millions on his deal, even with the payout for Bonilla over that period of time. And so quite honestly, it was turning what was a loss of $6.8 million in a single year of releasing him into what would be a win and a financial windfall for the organization because of the Madoff investments.
Did you invest in Madoff?
You know what? It's funny. I actually, one time was suggested, say, you get some money saved up, we can maybe get you an account with Bernie. And I asked the question, what makes him better than everybody else? Like, why is he better? Like, why don't people just look at what he's doing and other people sort of copy his investments and do it? And what I was told was he keeps everything really close to the vest, obviously. But here's the thing, like Fred Wilpon, once Fred Wilpon vetted you, he loved you. And like I was in that group. Like I was one of his people that he really treated me with love and respect. And Bernie was a friend of his. That's why Fred had no idea, because when they had me go and have the accounting department run the money, they said, what if he loses some money some year? So they did a whole number of iterations on it and ran it through the system without any expectation of what the return would be, just knowing that he was better than others and they might get a return on it. So it was heartbreaking because for the Wilpons, knowing Fred, it was the relationship. Obviously, he lost a lot of money, but the relationship and that sort of commitment and connection he had was really devastating. It was heartbreaking for me to see all of that and go through that from the outside looking in at that point.
But the aftershocks of that relationship between the Wilpons and Bernie Madoff, is that why the Mets are up for sale or been up for sale?
I think that by the way, I never ended up investing with it at all. So I avoided it. But I think that, that certainly was part of where they had been. But, I don't know. I think sometimes what we see with ownership is the succession plan, right? When the owner gets a little bit older, how do you, the estate taxes on a franchise? We saw it back in the day, I guess, with the Robbie family down in Florida, and they're selling the team. And, how do you then pay those taxes on the ownership of it? And so I think that there's some part of maybe the planning for a succession plan that's coming into it. But, here's the thing. If expansion may be coming, and that may be a way for owners to solve their problem, right? Put billion-dollar expansion fees for 2 new franchises to come in to get you to 32, which would balance it out. Then they can sort of subsidize themselves like they did back in the 90s to pay off the collusion payment and settlement when they added, the Rockies and Marlins back in the day. So I think that you may see the Mets hold on a bit if expansion is just around the corner.
Where are we going to expand to?
Well, I think Montreal seems like a potential place. Portland is a possibility. I think San Antonio, I didn't know this. San Antonio, the 7th most populated city in the country, 1.5 million in the city. I think that Nashville is a place that people are talking about as a possibility. Charlotte, and the notion is, and there's been this thought that Tampa and Oakland need to be resolved first, right? You've got 2 stadium issues there. The Oakland A's can't even pay their rent right now, by the way. $1.2 million have not paid their rent for this season. But the thought all along has been you've got to resolve those 2 before you expand. But I think you could find 28 owners right now who would vote to expand before worrying about what to do with Tampa Bay and Oakland if it's going to generate the expansion fees that could come with it to try to make everybody whole after the suffering financially from this pandemic.
Great stuff, Steve. I hope you're doing well, and we appreciate you joining us.
Good, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Dan.
That's Steve Phillips, host of MLB Network Radio on Sirius XM. We'll take a break. Phone calls coming up right after this.
Every year on New Year's Eve, my wife usually works, right? And so I stay home, I get Kieran to bed, and then I usually put together like a spread. I get champagne, and I cook some food, and get some cheese and stuff, put out there for when she gets home from work. So a couple of years ago, I thought I would sort of spice things up a little bit and let her know sort of like, hey, it's on tonight when you get home. And so I took a picture of me naked in front of our fireplace. And I strategically placed the champagne bottle and some of the food to cover some areas. And this was during the Ryan Gosling, everything was like, hey girl, whatever. So I did that, and I wrote, hey girl, got plans tonight, and sent it to her.
Dan, before you hit it, I'm blind in my left eye. I'm covering my right eye so I cannot.
This is your last chance to look away.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to peek.
So
I'm going to sort of.
I did this. Hey girl, got any plans tonight? And see, there's yeah.
Oh my.
And so she immediately upon getting it was just like, oh my God, I have to show this to everyone in the world. And she immediately put it on Instagram. I can't believe you guys haven't seen this.
I can't believe how.
We would have remembered if we saw it.
It's been up there for like 2 or 3 years.
That's so awesome.
Dude, where has the I-team been? This is the greatest photo we've ever had.
You might want to censor these because those are A cup-ish. And this little wrinkle right there.
Belly. No, you'd be better off falling to your death, Paulie.
Yeah.
Wow. Suddenly, Jay Cutler's photo doesn't look that bad.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, Jay Cutler is in I just conquered the world stance. Now I'm going to go look out at the horizon.
Yeah, he's out on the veranda here looking out over millions.
Hey, girl, got any plans tonight?
You actually even undersold how tremendous that is. It looks like a model for a chili dog company. That is unbelievable. Everything about it. Yeah. The look on your face.
Here we go. Come back.
You're a full-figure male model.
Yeah, I am.
I saw the picture with Jay Cutler yesterday where he's on vacation and his wife took a picture of him. He's in the raw and took the picture from behind and then sent it out. So the internet ate it up. And Seton goes, I did that a couple of years ago. Didn't I show it to you? And we go, no.
I thought you guys had seen that.
No, we didn't. We would have remembered seeing that. So Seton it's a picture of Seton naked in front of the fireplace with a champagne bottle and some cheeses, assorted
Some grapes.
grapes. Yeah. Oh, those are grapes.
Those are grapes.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
strategically placed there.
And he sent a note to his wife because she was working and then coming home on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, my wife usually works every New Year's Eve, so I get our son to bed, and then I sort of make some food and get a spread together so that when she gets home, we can celebrate. And so we do that every year. And this one particular year, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, I decided to sort of spice things up a little bit and try to make her laugh. And so I took this picture of me naked in front of our fireplace with this stuff. And it was during that like Ryan Gosling era of like, hey girl, everything was hey girl. So I wrote, hey girl, got any plans tonight? Now, the awkward part of this isn't actually the picture. It's that I sent it to my wife while she was at work and she never responded. And so the more time that's going on, I'm like, oh my God, like, did I do something wrong here or whatever? So she gets home and she's like, oh, wow, the food looks great and thanks for the champagne or whatever. And after like a half hour or so, I was like, are you not going to say anything about the picture? And she's like, what are you talking about? She hadn't seen it yet.
Oh.
And so I was just like, haven't you checked your text messages? And she looked at it and was dying laughing. So I got to see her actual reaction to it. And so she was cracking up and she was like, oh my God, I have to show this to Jill. I have to show this to my mom. I have to show this to like everybody. And she was like, do you mind if I put this on Instagram?
It looks like
No, go
something
ahead.
Andy Samberg would post as a joke, or Will Ferrell would post as a joke for like a movie that they have upcoming.
And Seton is a full-figured male model, is what he is right there.
Nudist Camp 2 is the movie.
Oh, Sports Illustrated. Hello.
Yeah.
Full
Yeah.
figure is
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. Maybe they could paint a champagne bottle like you do body paint.
Probably one of those little airplane bottles, though. But
Yeah,
that's
well,
all right.
That's all right.
It's okay.
Keep your head up. Oh, get a couple of phone calls in here. 877-3DP Show. Email address, dp@danpatrick.com. Let me see. This is from Greg in Baytown, Texas. Just watched the opening scene from Sabura. Holy shnikes. I can see why Paulie's wife doesn't want to watch. I can see why Paulie does want to watch. That was on Netflix. It's Sabura, and then it says, like, The Blood of Rome.
Yeah, Sabura, Blood on Rome. There was a movie a few years ago called Sabura. It's their version of like a mafia. It's a government, politics, the church, organized crime. It's subtitled. It's all in Italian, but it's subtitled. The first scene was so hardcore that my wife goes, "Nope, not for me." And she watched Breaking Bad, and she had no problem with Breaking Bad. I'm not going to describe the scene.
Sabura.
Yeah, not like Sabaro. That'd be Fritzy's favorite show.
Yeah, because I thought, man, all right, they got a food court in Rome.
That's perfect.
Yeah, but there's blood.
It's one of those scenes. It's not even violent. The first scene. It's just so dark and cringeworthy. Let's put it this way: it involves a priest, and then my wife goes, "Nope, not for me."
I don't. I know. I'm not interested.
But it got great reviews. It's one of the more popular shows out there on Netflix, and it's supposed to be hardcore.
Yeah. Nope, not interested. I was watching Reels last night, as I always do. They have Mobster, episodes, and they had it on Murder Incorporated. The guys who started Murder Incorporated back in the 30s, and they decided that the Italians and the Jewish mafia, like, they all teamed up there, like Dutch Schultz and some of these other guys, and they just talked about how many people they killed all over the United States. But Murder Incorporated. And they all die in the end, by the way. Yes, Paul.
If you title your company Murder Incorporated, you're going to be a big target for the authorities. I mean,
well,
day
the
IRS,
the IRS is going to have a problem.
Day
with
one,
it.
they're looking at you like these
LLC.
guys. It's not like a flower shop.
Murder Inc. LLC.
Yeah, they're up to something bad over there.
You imagine the IRS would probably question that. Yes, Mclovin.
So are you getting into this now?
No, I just watch reels, and then it reminds me of why I don't like mafia movies.
So you watch it and you're like,
Yeah.
oh man, thank God none of this is real.
Yep. Yeah.
Thank God this is all
Well,
fiction.
it is called reels. Yes, Todd.
Were people really afraid of Abe the Menorah Goldstein back in the day with the 30s Jewish mobsters? Hard to envision that kind of scene.
There was nobody called Abe Menorah Goldstein
There
or
was
whatever.
not.
Question mark.
I can't
Or
believe
you
I'm-
have like Frankie, two fingers Maloney or whatever. I think there might be a Joe the Mezuzah.
Yes,
Goldstein.
McLovin.
I can't believe I'm diving into this with this idiot here, but Meyer Lansky's like the third most famous mobster of all time, and he was Jewish. Everybody knows that.
Todd has no idea who Meyer Lansky.
Hyman Roth and Godfather 1 and 2.
They
Meyer
were-
Lansky.
There was a powerful Jewish
Oh
mafia.
yeah, all the ethnic groups in Lower New York. in the
They're all
1900s.
nice Jewish boys. They don't do these kind of things.
They were in Brownsville, I think, is where they had a couple 100,000 Jewish families. And then that's where some of the, organized crime got started because of Prohibition. Yes, Todd. Or yes, McLovin.
Yeah, as long as we're diving into this, I always found it interesting that Todd's dad was a
Police
Jewish
officer.
cop. Yeah, named Fritz, which is not a Jewish name, a German
I
name.
still have a tough time believing that someone from my family would do something that courageous and put their life on the line every day. I don't know how he got some different genes that I didn't get.
Obviously.
And then, a tough place to be a cop too. New York City, Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to work at the old Yankee Stadium, and he was right there in the Bronx, Brooklyn.
Yeah,
where
Paul.
Things go down.
My dad was an iron worker. He worked on high-rise buildings
All
specifically.
right, this isn't let's compare our
No,
dads here.
I'm comparing how soft I am. Like the idea of being over 2 floors working outside on a building scares the hell out of me. I mean, I think we're all scared of heights to some point. But that's just, it's funny how different you could be from your dad.
My dad was a computer science guy.
And you can't work your computer.
And
at
I
all.
am not good at computers. They really make me nervous.
My dad is a history teacher, and I was terrible at school. Go figure.
McLovin?
My dad was a wholesale grocer. I got nothing. Great guy. Probably watching right now.
Oh, yeah, we love your parents. They're great. A couple of phone calls here. Luca in Baltimore. Hey, Luca.
Hi, Dan. Thank you for taking my call. Long-time listener. I just wanted to say that the Sabura series, I watched it. I think it's absolutely worth the time. As an aside, I actually grew up in Italy, so I guess I've watched all of the different mafia movies under a different lens. But I'll say that the Sabura series might not have the same glamour and maybe romanticized aspect of it. But I think it gives a really good look into what the mafia has evolved into. And on top of that, I have a suggestion for a similar series, 000. I believe that's on Amazon Prime. And that is off of a book, again, similar series about the modern spin of the mafia. So I think...
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, Luca, prior to the show, because Paulie's like, do I go 000 or Sabura? And he chose Sabura, but 000, I guess, got good reviews. That's Amazon Prime?
Yeah, that's a combination of like a Mexican drug cartel, and the setup of that TV show is a big load of cocaine gets smuggled out of Mexico to Italy, and then there's an international war.
Yes, McLovin.
I've seen it. It's way too hardcore. You will hate it.
Okay.
It's way too far.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even close to whatever the line of decency is. And Gabriel Byrne's in it, though.
I like him. Jeff in Milwaukee. Hi, Jeff. What's on your mind?
Hey, great show as always. Got Fritzy Ramblin', got Jerry West coming up. He's one of my favorite guests that you have. Nobody gets as much out of guests as you, from Jerry West to Colby to even Urban Meyer. Who's on your Mount Rushmore of guests that you have?
Oh, that's too tough to say, Jeff, because it tends to fluctuate. It's strange. Who did we say the other day is Chris Webber is one of my favorite guests. He just tells stories. I think it comes down to, is somebody going to be able to tell you something that you didn't know or entertain your audience? Because I'm just the conduit. When we have people on, I want to get the information. Like Steve Phillips, I wanted him to give you information so you know what's going on in the baseball situation. And if they can tell you stories, you know, the Bernie Madoff story of the Mets investing the Bobby Bonilla money, I thought was interesting there. But, gosh, there have been so many guests. We've been so fortunate down through the years. And one of my faves is Jerry West. He'll join us coming up in about 25 minutes from now. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. But how did black artists treat you?
Great. That's where I'm. Listen,
like Tupac or Biggie or those guys.
Oh, good friends of mine. I was friends with Tupac way before he even blew up. When he was
NWA,
with Digital Underground. NWA. I was the opening act. Listen, I was the opening act for the opening act for the opening act for the opener for the opener when we did the Stop the Violence tour with NWA, Stetson Sonic, EPMD, Sir Mix-a-Lot. So I was that kid out there, and they were great friends. They embraced me, man. And my whole crowd was always black. I never thought I'd ever play for white people until my music went number one. And when it went number one, all of a sudden my crowds went, well, I went from smaller crowds to huge stadiums in rap music. It just hadn't been done like that before. So for me, I was just like, whoa. And here I am on tour now with, I think it was MC Hammer, and it's just gone mainstream. And it was us because it was my record that was first rap record to go number one. So it was pretty phenomenal how it just, you know, we brought it kind of out of the hood and into the mainstream.
The importance of video to that number one hit was what?
Well, Ice Ice Baby came out.
Yeah.
I was 16 years old when I wrote that song, and it didn't really come out for 3 years later. We didn't have enough money to buy a video, so I had to borrow some money to make the video, and we just, you know, kind of scrounged it together and put it out. It became the number one video on MTV ever, probably the cheapest video ever played on MTV. But it was an amazing phenomenon, and when the Ninja Rap came out is when it really set in and put the concrete in. Because everybody, like you and I, grew up to the Ninja Turtles, but everybody today is growing up to them. It's huge. It's bigger than, you know, you would never think Star Wars would be topped or Star Trek would be topped because, you know, being us, we kind of grew up to that, and that's like the big phenomenon. Well, Ninja Turtles has tripled, both of those together combined. It's amazing. They have a whole row, you know, when you go into the department stores or whatever, you go in there and you see Ninja Turtle aisle. It's crazy how big it's gotten.
Well, how big? Give people an idea of how big you were at the peak of your career.
160 million records and still selling. My record that was released 20-something years ago, I with To the Extreme, has every year has sold over 2 or 3 million copies every year. Still, since it's coming out, just this year alone is already probably 3 or 4 million. It's crazy phenomenon to the point where most rappers that everybody think is big in America. There's another step. It's called the world. And I never thought that rap music would leave America. And all of a sudden, I'm playing in Russia, China. I've played in Muslim countries. And I mean, it's crazy where it'll take you. And the people don't even speak English. And then I get letters and stuff back talking about, I learned to speak English on your music. By the way, what is a gauge in a 9? And did you solve the problem?
Yeah, what was the problem that you were supposed to solve?
Any problem. It's just being positive. If there's a problem, solve it.
Well, look who came to town. You got to show a little bit of emotion. Are you kidding me? Now get out here. Come out here right now. Come on. Are you kidding me? Come on. Okay. Sit. That's better. I'm tired of this. Why do I have to beg? Okay? Why do I have to beg? Good girl. See, I had another one, but I'm not going to. I'll save it for another day. Or I can give it to Tyler. Here, Tyler. Here, Tyler. Good boy. Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Dan Patrick.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Dan Patrick.
He's the commissioner of the National Hockey League, Gary Bettman. What if a player tests positive in the middle of the playoffs? Then what?
The medical people are telling us one test would require that player to be isolated, and you don't need an overreaction. If you have an outbreak, that's a completely different story. What constitutes an outbreak, what procedures we need to follow, that is something that the medical people are going to tell us. We'll be doing what medical people tell us is appropriate under the circumstances.
Bringing you the biggest guests and best interviews.
I give you credit. You know you're getting booed, but you still love taking that trophy out there.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
When do I get booed?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
This is Dan Patrick.
Final hour on this Thursday, and I get the honor of talking to Jerry West coming up. Just turned 82. Why does he look better at 82 than I do at 64? That's not fair. And it still feels like he could hit a jumper. We'll talk to Jerry. He'll join us coming up. Why the obsession with Mike Tyson suddenly? Like, what happened where all of a sudden we want to see Mike Tyson? He's going to fight Tyson Fury, maybe bare knuckles, maybe MMA, wrestling. That's what happens when you have downtime. All of a sudden, Mike Tyson is getting back in the ring, and we see his workouts. Now Evander Holyfield says, hey, I'd fight him. All right. But I was just surprised that this Mike Tyson's in his early 50s here. He still looks good. But do I want to see Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson, Tyson Holyfield 3? Not really. I didn't want to see Floyd Mayweather going against Conor McGregor. But they want to try to do that again. I didn't want to see Manny Pacquiao go against Floyd Mayweather again. But they were talking about doing that. God, I hope we are. I don't like sequels. Now, occasionally when it comes to boxing, you'll have a sequel, you'll have a rematch, and it works out. Ali Frazier was wonderful. Doesn't always work out, but, you had that time period where, Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns, they were fighting each other a couple of times, and they were great fighters. But when it comes to Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, and you want to see him back in the ring again, I'm not that desperate yet for sports, live sports. You want to have Tyson in the wrestling ring? Okay, I'm okay with that. MMA? I don't know how good Mike would be with MMA. Yes, Todd?
Would they embrace a whole bite night promotion and kind of play it up, the whole third fight? I think that might be interesting.
Thank you, Todd.
That probably hasn't been used ever before.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Yes, Paul?
I don't think that the Tyson Holyfield fight thing is that crazy right now because of what the landscape.
Oh, it's not crazy, but that's my problem with what's going on right now. It's not crazy.
But I think they have about a month and a half left to get this fight off. Like the Tiger Phil golf thing, it got 6 million people because there wasn't a lot on. It was really well made for TV.
But they're still relevant.
Yes.
And then if you don't have Brady and Peyton in there, because when Tiger and Phil first played the first match, it wasn't exciting. But Brady and Peyton made it really interesting here.
I'd like to say that I wouldn't pay for Holyfield versus Tyson, but I might be lying to you. right now.
It depends on what the undercard was. If you had an interesting, legitimate undercard, then maybe. No. I might be interested in that. But if you say, hey, would you shell out $100 to see Tyson fight Holyfield? And people probably would. But if you said, all right, $50 to watch Tyson and Holyfield, as long as it doesn't start at midnight Eastern, then yeah.
They're too old. They got to start like 4:45 p.m. Eastern.
You imagine it gets to be like 9:30 and Mike's nodding off. Just so tired.
It's like the early bird special pay-per-view.
Got a big day ahead of me. Got a big day ahead of me tomorrow.
I saw this from Mark Stein. He's a great NBA writer for the New York Times. His prediction on the Stein line, at the Stein line, NBA invites 20 teams to Orlando. 30 is too many to host comfortably. 24 too arbitrary. Some non-playoff teams, and they would want to play. Some don't. 16 is the fairest of all. 30 can't be invited. So 20 is the easiest compromise. Top 8 in each conference. In the West, it would be 9 through 12. So that would give you your 20 teams. Mark Stein does go on to say, one related matter of interest for record book nerds, in quotations, like me, parentheses, I should say to be exact, who obsess about such things. If San Antonio is invited to Orlando as team number 20, will that count as a playoff berth, number 23 in a row? You're right, Mark. You lost me here because there's way too many things to worry about. Then, does that officially count as a playoff berth for the San Antonio Spurs? I couldn't care less. Sure, let them celebrate. 23 in a row. This is new times, new rules, and put an asterisk by it. Doesn't it feel? It feels like we're handing out asterisk. Just put an asterisk by it. The year of the asterisk. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. That with what's going on with quarantine, and when we have games, can you get fans to come out? But what about the college football atmosphere? Because let's say your football team is playing in the stadium. You can't go in, but you're going to be outside. You're as close as you can possibly be. Now, can police cordon off the parking lot and not allow anybody to go in? Are they just going to go somewhere else close to? Maybe you're a half mile away from the stadium, but you're sort of tailgating here. And can you get people to come in, allow them to come in, and can there be social distancing here? Will Leach wrote an article for New York Magazine on this topic, and he talked about the mayor of Athens, Georgia, Kelly Gertz. Georgia hosts 90,000 fans. So 6 times a year, they fill the stadium with 90,000 fans. SEC football, upwards of 30,000 people will go to Athens, Georgia from across the state without any intention of attending the game. You have 90,000 inside. You may have 30,000 who are coming in, and they're not going to go to the game. They're just going to tailgate. If you have a high-profile opponent, as Will Leach mentions, like Notre Dame, you're getting a big number here. The contact tracing nightmare, and one that local officials are almost powerless to withstand, the mayor of Athens, Georgia, says that the job would be a lot easier if nobody was allowed into the stadium. Letting 20,000 fans in the stands, which would still be only 20% of capacity, quote, is basically waving a flag that says, come on down. But because Georgia is a state university, it does not have to adhere to any local statutes that might differ from the state. And the university's current plan anticipates a full football season and, quote, relatively normal conditions. That means you're going to have fans in the stands. I don't know if you're going to get maybe 20,000 that will be allowed in. Are you going to allow fans to tailgate? Can you stop them from tailgating? And I think that it's a question. I don't want to say it's a concern, but we know what concerns are now. We have real concerns, not, hey, can I tailgate or not? Boy, that's a real concern. It's a question that I have, and I don't know if college football is ready to answer that just yet. And maybe they shouldn't answer it because we have a little bit of time here before you let 15, 20, 25,000 into a stadium, safe distancing, but there are going to be people who show up to tailgate. If you let fans in, there'll be people who show up to tailgate. Even if you don't let fans in, there will be fans who will show up to tailgate. Greg in Illinois joining us. Hey, Greg, what do you have for me?
Hey, Dan, how you doing?
Good, sir.
Good, good. Hey, actually, Will Leach and I are from the same hometown in Illinois. That's where my dad resides. He's currently alive and well, by the way. Anyway, I was wondering where your favorite place is to tailgate or watch a college football game.
By the way, thank you, Greg. Greg with a shot saying his dad was still alive is a shot at myself and Paulie and Fritzy. Well done, Greg.
Show off.
Yeah, well done. And because of that, I'm not going to answer your question. Made fun of my dad being dead. Doug in North Carolina. Hi, Doug.
First off, Dan, thank you for what you guys have done for the last couple of months. You've kept me from being absolutely lonely and going insane. So I hope you guys, sincerely, a heartfelt thank you for what you add to my day every day.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask, I think this is a brilliant question. I haven't heard anyone talk about this, but when you have a players' association negotiating with a league, even if it gets ugly like it's getting in baseball, at the end of the day, when there's an agreement, there's no liability worry for the league. College football, college sports in general, does not have a players association. So my question is, and I'm not a lawyer, I know you're not, is are they going to have a waiver from every single player before they can come back and play the games?
Probably so. I mean, I don't know legal details here. But, you know, if you're a parent and your son is going to be playing football in the fall, what safeguards are there? What measures are put in place? And you don't have a union. You know, these players, we just assume, hey, you're getting a free scholarship here. Come on in. You're going to play. And that's why when we had Chip Kelly on a couple of weeks ago, I said to Chip, how much of a voice do your players have? And he said, they have a large voice here. And they should. They're the ones taking the risk coming back. Gary in Iowa joins us. Hi, Gary. What do you have for me?
Morning, Dan. I just wanted to give you a call and let you know that I almost want to skip work anymore because you're not on my TV anymore. I don't know how I upgrade my service. But anyway, I'm watching a movie on Netflix called Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler.
Yep.
And wow, that does change a man's perspective on that. And I'm looking forward. I'm looking for you in every movie, and I haven't seen you in this one yet.
Well, that wasn't produced by Sandler, but thank you. That was the Safdie brothers who did that. So Sandman didn't bring me in. But he is working on a movie in conjunction with LeBron James's production company. And it's about a basketball player in Europe. And but I've helped Sandler a little bit in consulting. I don't know if I have a role in that, but we have discussed that. But he is working with LeBron James's people for this project and still waiting for my script. But Uncut Gems, it's on Netflix now. Watch it. You know I love Sandman, but I wouldn't steer you wrong. He's great in this movie. And you can see why I thought that he deserved an Oscar nomination. I thought he was really, really well done. The movie was well done, and he was great. Yes, Mclovin.
I could think of 4 guys who could play European basketball extras if need be.
I think you could, Mclovin. I don't think anybody else could.
How about like Ball Boy or something? Could do that.
Could do that. Yeah, I don't know. I think the days of you getting in Sandler movies might be over.
Sure feels that
Yeah,
way.
feels.
Felt like that about 6 years ago.
Well,
Yeah.
he doesn't bring it up as much as he used to. You know, remember when you say, hey, Danny, I'll get the Danettes in it, and then I'd go. Because I said, look, it's hard for me to leave the show to go shoot a movie. It's great if the Danettes are in it. And then he put you guys in a couple of them. And I think the window's closing. Yeah, Mclovin.
Was it our performance when we were walking across the parking lot in that one that because I thought I walked really unnaturally. I was worried about that.
Yeah, it's weird. If I say, hey, you're going to walk on camera, Mclovin, you can't walk on, you don't walk naturally.
Nope.
Yeah, Paul.
It is weird to have someone tell you to walk in a controlled fashion. Like, the director, Robert Smigel, goes, just walk next to each other like you're walking into a baseball game. And we all try to keep in line with each other, which you would not do if you're walking with 4 bros. Yeah. You would just walk and chit-chat, not notice what's around you. But you also couldn't talk, so it looked like we were marching.
Well, the worst thing is when they say, just act naturally. You don't know what natural is. They just act naturally. Okay. What is natural about this setting that I'm in? But I still go back to the prison scene.
Oh, boy.
We nailed it. Todd almost got kicked out of that scene. which is really hard to do when Sandler says you're in the scene and you guys were the news cameras that were following me around.
It was such a surreal experience that we were all there. And what should have been the first thing on my mind was the last thing on my mind, to look like I was actually shooting something with a fake camera. Instead, I was pointing at the wall and just watching a movie scene that we had no business being a part of happening before my eyes.
Todd is supposed to be giving the impression that he's shooting this scene with me interviewing Adam Sandler and his son, Andy Samberg. And Todd puts the camera to the side and is watching the scene. And that's the only way you could get yelled at, is just put the camera up, and Todd puts the camera down and he's watching the scene as if, he's a member of the audience.
Such a simple thing to do. I became a spectator. I forgot I was supposed to be actually in the scene.
Yeah, Paul.
And it stands out because Seton was also a cameraman, and Seton's all crouched down. And I don't know that Seton's ever held a camera in a professional fashion, but he's got the eye thing. He's
it's not that
down.
difficult to look like the filming is what's hard, not holding the camera looking like you're filming.
And Todd's got the camera at a 90-degree angle away from the action and just going, oh, that's cool. There's Susan Sarandon.
Couldn't have made less sense, what I was doing with the camera there.
God. Yes, he.
I was going to say, to be fair to Todd, as the other cameraman on that shoot, I just kind of assumed we were supposed to be pointing that way, but it was never really said. Like, oh, hey, so you're filming these people. I just kind of assumed it.
He's always got my back seat.
I got lucky. And I was so happy that I wasn't, when the producer had said, no, boys, it's fine. If you see me, that means it's terrible. Yeah. That means it's really bad. And we did one take, and he came storming out of the door. What are you doing? You're terrible.
There was no bedside manner.
I believe the words were, Todd, you're terrible.
Yeah. and so now I feel... Now I'm even more nervous because I have to have my lines, and I'm there with Susan Sarandon. I've got Sandler and Andy Samberg, and I got to get my lines right. Now I'm worried that Todd can't hold a camera that's a fake camera to give the appearance he's filming the scene.
Not to mention you went out of your way to get us all into a scene in the movie, and I'm like totally ruining it for you. So it looks bad for Sandler and the gang that he allowed that to happen. It's just bad in every possible direction.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why are you facing the wall?
Oh, and of course, Susan Sarandon has no idea who we are. None. And she sees Adam Sandler's partner, Jack Caraputo, run out and go, what are you doing? And then starts yelling at Todd. And I go, oh, my God, this is going to be really bad. All you have to do is hold a camera, Todd, and give the appearance you're shooting.
Seems simple enough.
Yep. You're like, hey, they're shooting a scene over here. Let me put down my camera and look over.
Always got to complicate everything.
All right, more phone calls coming up. And Jerry West will join us in the On Deck Circle. Just celebrated his 82nd birthday. 17 after the hour. This is the Dan Patrick Show. Health and safety is the top of everyone's list right now. No matter what happens, you want to make sure your loved ones are protected. LegalZoom continues to provide a reliable way for everybody to set up the right estate plan without leaving your home. And it starts with just getting answers to your questions, because it may not be an estate plan. Maybe it's a last will or testament or a living trust. How about advanced health care directive? Maybe power of attorney? All of these questions can be answered. And LegalZoom has online resources. They make it easy to get started. And if you want to speak to an attorney, you can. They have independent attorneys, and they're there to guide you. They're not a law firm. That's a good thing. You don't worry about expensive billable hours adding up. Take an important step for your family today. Go to LegalZoom.com. You get started on a last will, living trust, and a lot more there. Total transparency on the pricing, and you can find out how to speak to an attorney for advice on the right estate plan. LegalZoom, where life meets legal. Need to make it legal? Make it LegalZoom.com. I don't know how many guys are on this list who have guarded Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Kobe Bryant.
Right.
So you're on that list, whether you want to be on that list or not. Because you didn't normally guard Jordan.
Oh, I thought that was a Carolina shirt. I'm sorry.
No. No, we wouldn't do that to you.
I don't play with fire.
We wouldn't do that to you. Okay, but if you said, and you would be one of the ultimate people to ask, like the best offensive player you faced,
Right.
who would that be? Like the toughest to guard.
You got to go with Jordan. I didn't guard Jordan a lot, but when I did, it was definitely Jordan.
But see, Kobe wants to.
No, no. So I was going to say,
right?
So Kobe was tough because I guarded Kobe a lot, and I was sort of like on the Suns, like that was my role to guard Kobe, and so that was Kobe's relentless, and every time down the court, he's trying to score on you, and he was the one guy that I felt like really didn't have a weakness. He could go right, go left, over either shoulder in the post, could hit crazy shots, contested from three-pointer. Like you just had to sort of have amnesia sometimes. You had to just get over the fact that he was going to hit tough shots. But he was the ultimate challenge, no doubt. Not to take anything away from LeBron. I didn't guard Jordan as much, but Kobe was that. Plus, I had one ankle. I'm like, I got a bad ankle. I'm 37 years old. And they're putting me on Kobe Bryant. Like, that was unfair. You know what I'm saying? It's bad.
Did Kobe feel sorry for you?
No, he didn't feel sorry. I mean, I think there was a respect there, but he, he was relentless.
And Leitner said, and you watched the interview with Leitner, that you were pressured to come back after that first surgery on your ankle. That you should never have come back.
Yeah, nah. I mean, I remember
he wouldn't name names and tell the whole story.
I mean, we need a whole hour to go through that ordeal. But yeah, that whole situation, and I'm gonna tell it at some point and write a book about it. But it was horribly mismanaged. And I still remember we were in the playoffs against Miami, and it was and my ankle had been bothering me up until that point, and we were coming back from a practice, and Leitner was like, "Hey man, like you need to take it easy. Like you're not right." And, and so I ended up playing in that game too. And that's when, I didn't play anymore and I had to have surgery. But I should have.
But he thought you might lose your foot. I mean, like this was really serious. Like he was upset.
No, I had staph infection. I went septic. I almost, like it was the whole, and this was 3 years later after numerous surgeries. So yeah, it was scary. And it was a point there where, you kind of thought I would possibly. So,
because people don't realize, and maybe they forget, you were on the road to you're not Michael Jordan,
right?
But you're in the conversation of most complete player in the game. Rebounds, assists, scoring. Yeah. You play defense. There's no weakness. You're a great teammate. Right. And then this happened. Like you had 4 or 5 years.
Can I get that so like my kids, my kids can hear it? Because literally my daughter, my 17-year-old, she'll, every once in a while she'll go on YouTube or something and she'll be like, "Dad, you actually were a pretty good player. You weren't always a scrub, and so
that's right.
Yeah,
She's probably seeing you.
They didn't see me. They saw me they saw Kobe torture me when I'm 38 years old. They didn't see that. So I appreciate that compliment.
Show her GQ magazine or show her the kid and play haircut.
Yeah, well, I won't show her that.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it was a good time. I think for me, 4 years in college, coming into the league, having success, early on and getting better. I felt like my 6th year in Detroit, like I finally got into a point where the game was really, really easy.
You were putting up big numbers, man.
And then I had the injury ordeal.
Dan Patrick Show brought to you by Mercedes-AMG. Be prepared for whatever comes your way. It's the all-new GT 4-door coupe. Life is a race. Visit your local dealership for a test drive today. If you missed any of our celebrity interviews this week from the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave, go to the Dan Patrick Show app where you can watch and listen from inside the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave. Mercedes-AMG Driving Performance. He's the Hall of Famer, Clippers consultant, of course, former Laker GM and player Jerry West joining us on the program. Jerry, is that a real background there?
I'm sorry?
Is that a real background? Is that you got palm trees behind you?
Yes, I actually been in Palm Springs for about 2.5 months, and it's getting a little hot down here. So it's about ready to head back to Los Angeles here very soon.
Happy birthday, by the way. Is the best gift to not bring up that it's your birthday?
Well, Dan, I guess I've been fortunate to be around for 82 years, and also it's my anniversary. So I thought it would be best to get married on my birthday so I'd never forget it. But I did forget it one time. Try
Ooh.
that one for size.
What happened?
Just in the middle of a season, and sometimes when you get there, birthdays were never important when I grew up, and I guess it was just a minor thing, and more importantly, it was just something that wasn't important. And I guess as you go along today and been involved, and obviously a few people know me, I've gotten a lot of notes and everything, and it's really nice to hear from people at this point in your life.
And this is your 40th wedding anniversary. So 40 years ago, how many NBA players showed up for your wedding?
I don't know if any did. 40, actually, it's 42, Dan.
Oh, 42 years ago.
Right.
Okay. So you didn't have teammates who showed up for your wedding?
Oh, no. This was well after my career, and the playing days, and it wasn't a huge wedding anyway. But anyway, a lot of crazy things I've seen in my life in my 82 years of time. That's for sure.
Well, happy birthday. How many conversations have you had with Clippers players or Doc Rivers or anybody, Steve Ballmer, with the possibility of when we come back?
Actually, a number, Dan. We like all teams, I'm sure, we've had a lot of stuff like this going on. We try to have a guest each week that provides some insight on some of the things they've done as athletes. Very successful people, and issues that they've gone through in their lives, and really talking about how do you keep yourself motivated during this period of time when there's so much uncertainty around. But at the end of the day, I think these conversations have helped because they keep people aligned. And I think more importantly, here's some people who've had enormous success in their respective fields in their lives.
Yeah, we're trying to figure this out, and then I don't know what safeguards are put in place, and can we put everybody in Orlando, and how many teams do we take playoff-wise? Do you have suggestions on that do we make it 20 because there's 4 teams that are closer in the West for that final playoff spot?
Well, Dan, I think, first of all, to me, and I've said this before, and I don't know what they'll do, but I think they need to have at least teams should play at least 72 games, okay, because it's only 12 less in the regular season. And also it gives the team that are on the bubble and trying to make the playoff, it'll give them a chance to get in there and compete at a high level to try to get into the playoffs. And then I'm not sure how the playoff format would work or not. Would they expand a little bit more? I think the most awkward thing, and the questions we ask all of these really fun people that we've been involved with, great players in a lot of respective fields, what their advice might be. And the one thing I think most people don't realize when you're trying to stimulate your players and keep them involved with their friends and also their teammates is communication. And the league is communicating as much as they can. There's a lot of things they have to take in consideration here. But this is obviously, Dan, an awkward time in trying to figure out what the dynamics are going to be. People are talking about playing in a bubble with no fans. I'm not sure how they could do it in one place. To me, it would be better to let the teams in the West, say, play in Las Vegas, where there's facilities there, plenty of hotel rooms, and in Orlando, keep the teams in the East. That would make it a little bit easier, I think. Also, to satisfy the contents of our relationship with ESPN, our relationship with TNT, and all our providers who are broadcasting the games were people who are, frankly, starving for competition.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought that they were going to do, like a satellite city and have it in Las Vegas and have the West Coast teams play there and then have the East Coast teams play in Orlando. The question would be then, where do you play the NBA championship? I guess you could have one team go to Orlando or Vegas. what about the possibility that you could have a Lakers-Clippers NBA Finals if we're just going to seed it 1 through 16 and not have the East Coast, West Coast, Jerry?
Well, for me, Dan, that would be the ultimate competition. I think in Los Angeles, they have so many Laker fans. My goodness, the enormous success that the Lakers have had over the years. They have a really good team now. Two of the best players that we've seen in a long time on one team. I think it would be incredible for the people in the West. I'm not sure how that would go over for the teams back east who want to see their respective teams get an opportunity to play. But that would be a situation where I think it would be unbelievably competitive. It would be compelling that I don't know how many teams in the same city have competed for a championship in any sport, much less the NBA. But it would make a compelling story. But in all likelihood, I think you're going to see things that are that'll be a little bit more normal without offending any of the teams. We have a lot of teams in this league, and it's not about one or two teams. A league is comprised of all of the teams, all the players, and what you want, more importantly, you want competition a bit against the best teams.
We're talking to Jerry West, the Hall of Famer, Clippers consultant. Did you see The Last Dance, the Bulls documentary?
I did. A lot of that stuff, Dan, I knew about. I knew some of the partners. I mean, a lot of the players, obviously, because I was really involved then. And also knew Jerry Krause, and I've known the Reinsdorfs for years, and have always really liked Jerry. Jerry Krause at one time had worked with us, and his. There's some people that have been hurt in this documentary. I don't think there's any question, and there's probably some hard feelings, but it was pretty raw at times. The language, if you listen to it, was offensive for some people, but that's really the way the players talk to each other in the locker room. It's become much more prevalent, by the way. It wasn't like that when I played, and it was because people, Michael. I love Michael Jordan. Okay, he's one of my best buddies in terms of never changing. He does not change. Okay, he's a fun-loving guy. He's compassionate. And I think you could see the really competitive part come out of him. But he also, I think some of that stuff gets, when you see the real raw part of it, a lot of it was kidding and everything, because he does like the kid. And I'm not trying to defend him from people who look at him as anything other than this iconic player. But there's, Scottie Pippen, to me, was damaged in this because they made a point to talk about a couple things in his career that certainly weren't what you'd like to see. And I know Scottie, I'm sure he feels horrible about it. Then Jerry Krause, who just a nice guy, and who had done a very good job in Chicago, become almost pinata, for Christ's sake. They hit him, throw things at him, derogatory remarks. And when you have success players are the ones who bring the ultimate success. But someone has got to put those pieces together. And I also thought it was with Phil Jackson there as a coach. I'm not so sure any coach could have handled that situation except him. Dennis leaving, someone I do really like Dennis myself. Him leaving, going to a WWF wrestling thing, body slamming someone, then going back and playing games. Yeah. I'm not so sure any coach could handle that except Phil.
When I watch the Jordan documentary, it just brought back what Kobe never shied away from being the next Michael. He wanted to be better than Michael Jordan. Mannerisms, the way he talked, the way he played, similar size there. Did you ever talk to Kobe about, that, or did you know that he wanted to be Michael Jordan?
Well, Dan, almost everything he did, you could watch him in practice and you say, oh my gosh, I've seen Michael do this, I've seen Michael do that. But I really think the crowning moment to that, the real crowning moment, and when Michael first jumped up on the benches where the staff are, the writers are, right courtside there, he jumped up and started this very exuberant celebration.
Yeah.
Who did that? Kobe Bryant. Exactly the very same thing. And I think he admired him so much. He admired how he played and also the enormous success he had, both as a team, but also as an individual. And you're talking about players that are obviously wired differently. You hear some of the incredible players that play the game today in all sports, and just see how they're really different they are in their pursuit of excellence. And certainly his pursuit of excellence was just like Michael's.
Yeah, because guys wanted to sort of shy away from, hey, Grant Hill's the next Michael Jordan, Tracy McGrady's the next Michael Jordan, Anthony Hart. Kobe was the only one to say, bring it on. Like, I want that. And I always admire, he never shied away from that. And I mean, it's pretty incredible that he didn't shy away from that possible comparison or that title.
No, well, Dan, if you knew him at an early age, that's who he was. He was so committed and so driven. You know, he would go play basketball any place against anyone. And every year, every practice, you're going to see something different out of him. And for a while, it was a problem because it's not an individual game. Individuals can win games for you and big games. A lot of players don't want the pressure. The really good ones bring it on, and that's who he became when he learned how the nuances of the game to tone his game down a little bit, so you could have a team instead of an individual. But late in the game and times when you needed a basket, he was going to get it for you, just as Michael Jordan did. But his infatuation with him was far greater than most people know. I think Michael talked about it in the documentary how they communicated. And I think it shows you that there's certain people in this world that are leaders, and there's certain people that have the same kind of desire to reach that status. And it's a learning process. You just don't pick it up immediately. It takes time. Also, it takes success and a belief that people that you're playing with and the success that you have, that people are going to follow that. But only a few people can follow it. You can be the greatest competitor in the world, and you can be the greatest trainer. And you hear this Kobe mentality, the mentality of Michael. There's tons of players out there that have that same mentality, Dan, but they don't have the ability to be able to go out and dominate a game. You know, they can have great games, but they can't dominate games, and they can't dominate a season like certain players do.
Did you keep any of your jerseys? Do you got stuff memorable? You don't strike me as a guy who's going to keep memories or memorabilia, but I'm just curious.
No. And I look around you, and I have no idea where that stuff you get comes from. I'm looking on the screen here right now, and I guess if anyone sent you anything that would have any significance, you'd have it out there. But
oh yeah,
I've never been a collector, Dan, of anything and nothing. I just say if you would come in my house, you would not see maybe one or two things that might remind you that I was a player in yesteryear. And I've always been that way. To me, it was about, you played for the city, you played for the organization, and you played to have success. And all of those things for me were what drove me in my career. And, I look back and, watch these guys today and Kobe and Michael, obviously. Michael, I think, first started at his desire to get fitter, stronger, and be able to compete against the Pistons, who were notoriously physical. And at that point in time, I think their presence in the league probably helped change the league because some of the fouls that they committed were very hard. But this had gone on for years. And because of Detroit's success, certainly they didn't care who it was. Your fanny was going to be in the ground if you're in the air going for a layup. But they helped change the rules, to be honest with you. But Michael started this. You could see the difference in him in a couple of years. Just how much bigger he got, leaner looking, and I don't think I've ever seen an athlete like him that has ever been that explosive, and the quickness and his ability to run. I read somewhere that Michael said he ran like a 4.340.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even pushing it. And I'm saying to myself, how can you have that kind of running ability and the enormous quick leaping ability he had? I don't know what his vertical was, but it was ridiculous. But the skill involved just put him in another class.
Yeah, not fair. Happy birthday. My thanks to your lovely wife, Karen, for all that she's done over the years in setting up these interviews. We always appreciate your time, and hopefully we get some basketball. And thank you, Jerry.
Dan, always great to speak to you. And we need something. It's time in the world, that's for sure.
That's the great Jerry West, Hall of Famer, turning 82 today and celebrating his wedding anniversary as well. We're back after this in the Dan Patrick Show.
We have a little demo here. It's been a long time since Coach Cowher has coached a game, so we're going to do a demo. This is a late fourth quarter AFC playoff game.
Wow.
This is your defensive lineman, Seton O'Connor, and Dan
Very
will call it out. And this would be what
You've already lined up in the neutrals.
How you would have reacted in the old days.
All right.
Okay, so now you're going to react in real time when you see him jump, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then when he comes to the sideline,
yeah,
I want to know what happens.
Yeah.
Blue 85! 53 is the Mike linebacker said.
Seton.
Whistle.
Seton.
What?
Just get over here. Stand next to me. Did you even look to the sideline to see where you were lined?
I was good.
Okay, stop. Question. It was a yes/no question.
Yeah.
Did you even look?
Yeah. Yes.
Then you have a really bad eyesight. You just cost us the play, and you may have cost us the game. Do you understand that?
Do you have the tablet
You understand
that I can look?
You're standing next to me. You're standing next to me. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a bad call.
You should probably be out there playing, right?
I should, yes.
And you're not, right?
I'm not.
You know why you're not?
Good bad refs.
No, you look to the sideline. You know what? The refs aren't going anywhere. And you know what? If you don't look, you're not going anywhere either. You know? So you know what? That was selfish. That was foolish. It wasn't very smart. And possibly could have cost us the game. Do you understand that?
I do.
Are you going to do something about it? Would you like to get back in there, Seton?
I would, yeah. Yes,
okay,
yes,
that's the question I'm asking. Would you look and make sure you're on side next time, Seton?
I will, yes.
And you know what? Then go make a freaking play. Go ahead.
There you go. Thank you, bud. Thank you so much. Good luck on Sunday.
That was great.
Yeah, you always blame the refs. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Have a great week. Thanks so much for
He
being
would have had the board in front of him so we couldn't read his lips.
I don't mind.
I saw this quote, help me with this, 2004. So the last time you won was 2004. There was the Target World Challenge, and you were in the Pro-Am. And you're in the clubhouse having some beers, telling stories, and then Tiger walks into the room. What happens after that?
Oh, I just tried to get him to sit down and have a beer with us. He was in his. I guess he went out and hit about 3 or 4 hours. He's practicing, and me and my guys were sitting there drinking beer, having a good time. And he comes in with his workout clothes. Tiger, sit down and have a beer or something with us. And he says, if I had your talent, I'd be doing the same thing. I said, come on, man. You're winning everything. I'm not winning anything. Come on.
Do you think that you guys, if you were a little closer to Tiger and how he approached it and he was a little more like you, that it would have helped you guys?
Well, I don't know. Tiger is so focused. I mean, he's kind of like a very feel natural golfer with the mentality of a Nick Faldo or a Jack Nicklaus. I'm more of a Fuzzy Zeller, Arnold Palmer, Lee Trevino type guy. I'm loose and fancy free. I'm not going to go beat 100 million balls. I'm going to play a lot of golf and practice when I play. I like to play and hit 3 or 4 golf shots on a hole when I play. I'm not a range rat, and which is, I just can't sit out there and hit balls in a field that long. I don't know how these guys do it, but, it's to each his own. And whatever makes you feel comfortable, whatever you think can play your best golf, that's what we do.
I don't know if you're the right person to answer this, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you have more natural talent than Tiger?
I don't know. I think we're really close on that, but I think his feel around the greens when he was winning all those tournaments was a lot better than anybody's. I think even at a point where you can almost say it was better than Nicklaus's. And, you watch guys like Rory McIlroy and Jason Day, and now Dustin Johnson's committed himself to his wedge game. You can compare that to some of the greats ever. But no, I think Tiger was always one to 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of me in this game. I think his focus and mentality is probably one of the strongest I've ever seen in a golfer, really close to what Nicklaus did. And, I was more of a Palmer, Fuzzy, Lee Trevino. And even Lanny Watkins, I'm a streaky player. I'm not a great putter every day. And luckily I was a great putter for 3 days.
Last call for phone calls, what we learn, what's in store tomorrow, all of that coming up. Jerry West's birthday. I believe it's John Fogerty's birthday. I think John is 75. Maybe you guys could check that. John Fogerty, icon. Still love listening. That voice, that guitar. John Fogerty, Creedence Clearwater Revival, I think. Today is 75th birthday there, Mclovin? Yep. All right. Yeah, see.
Yes, indeed.
Quick shout out, Seal Gosford, my grandmother, 94 today. Booyah.
Yep. Well, happy birthday there. Anybody else that this day in sports history? Any other birthdays in there, Paulie, that I need to be aware of?
Famous birthdays, May 28th. I think we got most of them.
We got Jerry. We got John. We got Seal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's a big fan.
How is she going to celebrate today?
Probably a little online poker.
Okay.
And I don't know, maybe a trip to church. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Can you go to church?
I don't know, actually.
They're not going to keep Seal out at 94 if she comes there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, I haven't been to church in a while.
The local church by me is having a drive-in. Like the priest is going to be up there on like a little podium, like a flatbed.
I'm old enough to remember going to drive-ins. I don't know if you guys did, but drive-ins were a big deal when I was in high school.
I was up in Rhode Island last week, and there was a drive-in, and they were showing Jaws on a big screen, and they were sold out.
Ooh.
Couldn't get a ticket.
Ooh. Yes.
You guys want to open a drive-in?
2 months ago, I would have.
For 3 months.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to do it now, but
I think it's going to be long-term impact.
It's a big piece of property that you need for your drive-in.
Yeah. Let's open it.
I love the drive-in.
Did you ever have a date at the drive-in?
Yes, I did.
How'd that work out all right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the closest thing to privacy back in the days, probably.
Yeah, it was. But see, I had 6 brothers and sisters, so we had one car. And I never got the car. I was 18 when I got my license because I'm like, why do I get my license? I can't drive any car. There's no car. My mom, with 6 kids, didn't have a car at home because my dad would take it to work. Yeah, see.
You know how there's like that kind of dumb thing that like Netflix and chill is code for like you want to come over and hook up?
Oh, wait a minute. I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's like a code. I think most people get that wrong, but it's like the real sub meaning is like.
Well, wait a minute. You want to come over and watch Netflix and chill?
Netflix and chill is like code word for like come
Hooking
over
up.
and let's hook up. Was, hey, do you want to go to the drive-in? Was that the same thing? Like if you're going to the drive-in on a date, it's on, right?
Makeout sesh?
Makeout sesh?
Probably. Like we would, if you went up to the concession stands, you could see like steamed windows. I mean, it'd be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on in there? Yeah, Paul.
I felt like a loser many, many times in my life, but one time, I think I was a junior in high school, me and 3 buddies went to the drive-in. And again, this is the end of the drive-in era. It wasn't that popular anymore, but I was in high school. We all went to the drive-in. And all our other friends were with their girlfriends and their nice cars.
We would actually, you would always sneak somebody in the trunk, usually.
So you didn't have to pay?
Yeah. It was so bad. And we'd throw like a guy, Jim Asher, in the trunk, and poor Jim would be like, "There, are we there?" And we would stop, and then we wouldn't tell him we were at the theater, the drive-in theater, and he'd be in the trunk for a little while longer.
Hey, shh, dude, shut up! We're gonna get caught. Shh.
Yeah. Yes, Todd.
Any tinted windows back then, or you're just on full display unless it's steamy for anyone to just walk by and see what's going on?
No tint. No, it was just. There was professional courtesy there. Drive-in courtesy was what it was. Jim in Oklahoma joins us. Hi, Jim. What do you have for me today?
Hey, finally made the show. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Sure.
Hey, but the Tyson fight, I would pay for that. But the reason I'm calling, how in the world did you get hooked up with Sandler? Never heard. And by the way, you have one of the best lines in The Ridiculous Six. I don't know if I can cite that line on the air, but best line in the whole entire movie was yours, Abe Lincoln.
I don't think you need to, we could say that, Jim, but thank you. I've known Sandler for 25 years, I think. And he wasn't putting me in a movie. I wasn't asking to be in a movie, but I knew that he was going to do a movie called Waterboy, and he wanted to cash in on ESPN's popularity, Sports Centers, and he used me on that as one of the broadcasters, one of the sportscasters on there. I think he used some other people. I think Jim Rome is in that movie. Peter King is in that movie. But, they wanted some authenticity. And Sandler just said, whatever lines you want. Say whatever you want, but, this is the scene and these are the highlights there. So he let me do basically a highlight via SportsCenter. And then I was at a Knicks game, and I went out into like the bowels of the stadium, Madison Square Garden, and Sandler was out there by himself. And I just walked up to him. I said, "Hey, Sandman." And he looked up and he goes, "Danny P, your boy, he bleeped me." And I go, "What?" He goes, "Your boy, Oberman, he bleeped me." I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Yeah, he was supposed to show up for Happy Gilmore, and he couldn't fly, and we had to get Vern Lundquist in there, and whatever." And I said, "Look, if you ever need somebody, you let me know. I'm going to be there for you." And he goes, "All right, you're Danny McBleepin Patrick, and you're going to be a police officer in my next movie, and you're going to wear a mustache." I didn't think anything of it. I just laughed and I laughed. Well, we did The Longest Yard, and I'm there in one of the early scenes as a police officer with a mustache as I arrest Sandler. And after that, he would just write in parts for me. He would just say, "Danny, got a part for you," and then he would tell me what it was, and then he would send me the script, tell me when to show up, and that was it. And I think it's been 17 movies. He even put me in as a police officer with Anna Faris.
House Bunny.
And I was a police officer in House Bunny.
See, I like that one. That was a good little, good scene there.
I didn't know all the stars who were in it because I'm only there for one day. Actually, I was there for a night because my scene was in the evening. But I think you had a couple of, big-time stars. Who was it? Who was the star of the Easy A?
Oh,
Emma Stone. I think Emma Stone is in there in the sorority. But I had no idea. Anna Faris was very talented. She had no idea who I was. as per usual with most of the women. Like when I meet Aniston on a movie set, and he goes, Danny, you know Aniston. I have no idea who Jennifer Aniston is. And then I know who she is. And then, he goes, Danny's the sports guy. So I was the sports guy the whole week when I was in Hawaii with Aniston. This day in sports history.
Tough one, Dan. The NL owners allowed the Brooklyn Dodgers to move to Los Angeles and the New York Giants to move to San Francisco.
Ouch.
Can you imagine if we were on air that day? Like if there was sports radio that day? Damn.
You can imagine if they were still in New York. What we learned brought to you by Traeger. Join the Traegerhood. Wood fire difference. You're going to find it at TraegerGrills.com/DP show. I think we're having mahi, not just mahi tomorrow on the Traeger Grill on our Meat Friday. Mahi. Nobody has just mahi. It's mahi, Mike. All right, thanks for joining us. Talk to you tomorrow.